This Week in Startups is brought to you by Squarespace. Start building your website today at squarespace.com. Enter offer code TWiST at checkout to get 10% off. Squarespace. Build it beautiful. And Citrix GoToMeeting. Meeting is believing. Visit GoToMeeting.com. Click the Try It Free button and sign up for a 30-day trial.
Hey, everybody. You've been waiting for it. You've been begging for it, and it's finally happened. Chris Sacca, legendary This Week in Startup guest, is back on the program. He's back on Shark Tank. We do a couple of pitches here, and this is another full Sacca episode. He is blunt. He is candid. He's charming. He's controversial. He talks about Twitter. He talks about Uber. He talks about everything, and you're not going to want to miss it. Watch it twice. Again, this is going to be a legendary top 10 episode, guaranteed. Chris Sacca, enjoy.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to This Week in Startups. I'm your host, Jason Calacanis, and I am here with the legendary Chris Sacca. Everybody knows the last time he was on the show, we broke the internet, a two-part episode, and I got the call. I got the DM. I'm coming in hot. I'm landing on Thursday, so I move heaven and earth. I get some space here over my friends in IBM. Thanks, IBM. And they gave me some space, and we got a show.
It's an amazing space, man. I'm glad. Thank you for all the Herculean efforts. Everyone in this room was responsible for pulling together.
Yeah, nice and quick. So you're here in town.
This is a lot better, I got to say, than your office space. Your office space feels like it cramps your style a little bit.
A little bit it does. But we're going to build a professional studio now.
You're going
we've
big,
done 600 episodes, so we're going to have actually a studio here, professionally being built for me.
Well, this looks legit enough for now.
It's legit enough for now. So you're here.
Yep.
For a day. And you parachute in.
I never come for a full day.
Never for a full day, just to be clear. It's like 10 hours, you parachute in.
Yeah.
Generally, nobody knows you're here. You get in and out. You do a couple of meetings. What do you do here when you come for 10 hours?
No, I want to come here on offense, right? Yeah. I want to get done the stuff that needs to get done. So I want to roll my sleeves up with the companies I work with. I want to meet with the people I'm most intrigued by. I want to build the friendships I want to invest in, and then I want to get out.
Right.
So
nobody gets hurt.
I don't want to spend a lot of time reactively pitching to random stuff, to being interrupted, to being distracted. I just really do everything I can to prioritize my time on the bigger picture.
That's great, and now that you've told me this, I'll assault you with 3 unexpected pitches from my portfolio. It's fantastic. Now that you've given that description. But you have become, let's face it, since the Uber investment, since the Twitter investment, you become a bit of a legend now. You got the Shark Tank going. Life has changed a bit for you in the last 2 years since you were on the program, or 3 years
you
ago.
hang out with me now.
Yeah, you got me in the posse. I'm part of the squad. It's like a Taylor Swift thing. You got a squad.
What a perk that I get to hang out with you, J-Cal. Just saying, Weblogs Inc., J-Cal wouldn't have ever cared about Chris Sacca.
No, I think I passed on that meeting.
No,
I was on offense, in fairness.
You know where we finally started getting to know each other was with the Open Angel Forum.
That was it. That's true.
Yeah, we'd known each other. We'd been in the same circles, but I think once you started really hosting those angel dinners, which were kind of amazing, you surfaced Uber and StyleSeat and Thumbtack and stuff like that. Backupify, I think we did out one of those deals that we sold. So, but I think that's where we really started to hang out.
Yeah, and you actually and Kevin were the hosts of it here in San Francisco. And by host, I invited you and said, by the way, you're the host now.
Really quick, yeah, exactly. That's such a J-Cal move. Really quick footnote. I don't know if you remember this, but the Open Angel Forum, what was that, like Pier whatever, where that was being held?
Yeah, the Pier that they shut everybody down, but it was at some
like
co-working
Pier 28
space,
or something like that.
Yeah.
So we've got the Open Angel Forum that Kevin and I find out when we arrive we're hosting.
Yes.
Uber presents there.
Yes.
Do you know who was coding about 25 feet away alone at a desk?
I don't.
Kevin Systrom of Instagram.
Hilarious.
He was the single employee of Bourbon. I hadn't seen him since Google. And I went by and was like, hey, dude, what are you working on? And ended up being one of the early investors in Instagram, too.
So as a result of
being,
And you remember that also, in addition to being a host, part of being a host is I get a 2% carry and you're 20% carry.
But that's literally how that came together. He was sitting in the shadows coding. People don't understand. Systrom literally, as much as he dresses all preppy and stuff like that, he's a hacker and he coded up all those original filters himself and stuff. But
he's a pretty interesting cat.
Yeah. no doubt. But he was literally right there lurking while your dinner was taking place.
So let me ask you a little bit of a challenging question here. Have you become a recluse? Because all the stuff you're talking about is serendipity and running into stuff and being at a dinner and being open to stuff. Now you're talking about, hey, I'm not going to play defense anymore. I'm going to be offense. Is this shift, do you worry with this shift where you have a lot of intentionality? It sounds good. But maybe you don't get the next Instagram because you're not open to maybe being out there a little bit. Do you worry about that?
A few things. One is, so become a recluse. I mean, just let's be clear. I moved to Truckee at the end of 2007. Yeah. I mean, I left Silicon Valley before, the end of 2007. I consciously decided to go live away from everybody else and then really invest in the friendships and relationships I wanted to have. So basically pick people and say, why don't you come up and hang out? We'll play in the snow. We'll go hang out in the lake, but let's go deep, right? And we do the same in our
VIP
place.
hot tub.
Yeah, exactly. The legendary hot tub. We do the same at our place down at the beach. We do our same at our place up in Montana. I pick and choose those relationships that I really want to deeply invest in. And so it was less about, the serendipity of like, hey, I'm at a conference and happen to bump into somebody and they blew my mind. And it was more about what was it about some of these relationships that exposed me to other people. And so
there's something. It's
so I think it's the investing in a relationship with you where I think I opened myself up to like, okay, I think with this Open Angel Forum back then, you were doing something pretty interesting. You were cutting through a lot of the bullshit that was starting to creep up in this industry. There were, I think you were a counterbalance to the over-institutionalization of capital at the time.
Right.
I was like, all right, I'll invest in building a friendship with him. And I just think like, as a consequence of that, without even realizing, like right there was Systrom.
Yeah.
But if I'd gone to 1,000 tech conferences, I wasn't going to meet that guy.
Right. It's an interesting philosophy.
And by the way, just to be clear, we knew each other already. We'd worked with each other at Google.
Yeah.
No, sorry, even Systrom and I did too.
Oh yeah, you and Systrom.
We'd worked together at Google. I hadn't had a catch up, and it was that bumping. Yeah.
And now, how else has life changed for you? Because let's face it, this fund you did back then, which I think was a $8 million fund or something, or maybe it was a $10 million fund, but you only called down 7 or 8 million of it. I know a lot of inside information about it from not you essentially, but from a lot of the LPs.
Well, that makes me feel good.
Yeah, I don't think you're not out there like telling people these details, but just so people are clear in the audience, since they know we're friendly, a lot of your LPs talk to me, obviously, and like a lot of people are pretty excited about having been an LP in this fund. I don't know what the name of that fund was, but I know that it was somewhere between a $6 and $8 million fund, and now the returns on that fund are in the billions, like $2 billion or something. Is that generally broad strokes correct?
Yeah, sure.
Does this make it the greatest fund ever in the history of Silicon Valley? Or is like Khosla had one, I believe, that had some crazy return too, and obviously the Google fund for Sequoia. Do you know, because they do keep track of these things in databases, where that fund sits in the history of Silicon Valley?
You should ask the people who take care of, keep track of those databases. But
right, but you're an LP in a bunch of other funds. It's unprecedented.
The reason you hear about it from your friends is because so many of them were my friends. Because when you go out to raise your first fund, the big banks and stuff that want to write you checks, it's your friends who actually make it happen. And so this, what I do wouldn't have been possible without real relationships with great people I'd worked with, people I'd gotten to know, who were willing to put, in some cases, material amounts of money for them to work here. And it makes me super happy that that has played out well for them. I mean, our funds have had Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that, and Heroku, stuff that's paid the bills like that, and obviously stuff like Uber that I think is still on its way.
It could be a 1,000x fund. It's 500x now. Is that right?
I mean, that's just, again, you're just clutching at straws right now. I love it.
I'm triangulating here.
This is like a Kara Swisher style. It's not. It doesn't suit you that well.
Okay, all right. Yeah. I'm just very excited for you. I'll be honest.
The presumptive question.
So when you do something like that, is there a follow-up problem? I mean, here's the thing.
Yeah, there's a follow-up problem. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, explain.
Our second fund is somewhere around like an 11 or 12x, and people are a little let down by that.
Yeah, only returned 10 times their money when the market would have returned 8% a year.
I shit you not. And I don't say that as like a humble brag about that return. I literally say it as like a true-to-life problem. People give a shit because it's only tracking to do, over 10x.
It is a...
And our third fund is, I think it's already like 1.5. It's like a year old, and I think it's 1.5 or 2, and people are kind of asking what's going on.
When are we going to make 500x our money?
Yeah. It really happens. The expectations are kind of ridiculous.
When you look at this business that we're in, this angel investing, early stage investing, because you're early stage still.
Yeah.
You remain early stage.
Yeah.
It is a little mind blowing because You can work exceptionally hard on 10 funds, and one defines your career. And these funds take 7 years to play out.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's kind of it's a rigged game. I mean, if I have a couple of funds lose, and we've never had a fund come even close to losing, but if I have a couple of funds lose, nobody really blames me. And then they'll only focus on the ones that I hit out of the park, right?
Right.
I mean, some of those guys you've mentioned earlier have lost a lot of money for people, and no one brings it up.
Right.
It's just it's pretty easy to be a VC in terms of reputational management, as long as you're not a fraud, and as long as you're not, you don't build a reputation for doing bad things to people from the money side. Like, it's a cult of personality, and it's not that hard to manage for most of these people. If you look at the industry as a whole, it generally loses money, right? And the amount of money it loses is equivalent to the fees that the VCs take out of it. Like, if you just look at the macro level, there are these funds that perpetually do well. If you were to invest in all of the Sequoia funds or all the Excel funds or all the KP funds, you do well. But along the way, they definitely have vehicles that are underwater. And people don't hold it against them, and take it personally. And so,
are you still enjoying it? The investing part of this, what we do?
Yeah, a little bit. I had to. I brought on a partner, so Matt Mazzio,
who's fantastic, by the way.
Yeah, he's better at it than I thought he'd be, and he's better at it quicker than I thought he'd be. And
how is he? Why'd you pick him? Let's start there. He was at CAA, right?
Yeah, so Matt was an agent at CAA. He was one of the guys who founded and ran their digital group there. He was like the first person to sign YouTube talent. When everyone's like, what the hell are you doing on YouTube?
Yeah, why are you wasting your time there?
He had Phil DeFranco, and he had, come on, the cosmetics, help me.
Oh, Michelle Pham.
Thank you, Michelle Pham. He was like her first rep. And so he was
I met him because he was working for Michael at the time over there.
Yeah, at Yanover.
Yanover, yeah.
Exactly. And so, but I met him in a jam session at South by. We just went deep late one night in like Gary V's,
wine
hotel
bar.
room at the Marriott.
Oh,
no, it was just like a hotel room with 2 queen beds that were stacked with like 20 dudes. It was in retrospect, it was funny. It was Garrett Camp, founder of Uber. Travis Kalanick was there. Owen Brainerd, wealth manager to the whole, to everyone we know. Tim Ferriss, Gary Vaynerchuk, and AJ, and a few other guys. And then there's MSG was there, I think, Michael Galpert. And then Mazzio was just like
weaseled his way in somehow.
Well, he was just incredibly well groomed. Like he was
a little
he was a little manscaped actually.
Yeah, he is
so we
quite
were kind of like, who is this guy?
A little too polished.
He disputes that he was wearing a sport coat. In my memory, he was, but he disputes that account.
Yeah.
But what was funny was as we went into the jam session, you know what a jam session is like. It's loud. People are bouncing off the walls, yelling at each other. And every time he opened his mouth, it was smart. He knew what he was talking about. He knew all these company names we'd never heard of before. We were blown away by him, and I'm just like, who the hell is this guy? And so stayed in touch. One of his roles was to bring LA-type companies up to Silicon Valley and get them integrated here. And so he was one of the first ones to bring talent to Instagram. And just along the way, I got to know him. I got to trust his judgment on what was going to matter, what wasn't. I knew him as a person, how he grew up, what his values were. And so I didn't run an interview process for a partner. I just called him and made him an offer.
Listen, I could talk to you all day about Squarespace. I love this product. All of our sites are built on Squarespace. Why? Because I can just say, hey, Bryce, hey, Ashley, hey, Jackie, just change this on the Squarespace site. Hey, can we get this up on the Launch Festival site? Hey, can we get this up on the Launch Mobile site? Hey, on the Scale Conference, on this, on that. It instantly gets done. It's easy to use. Squarespace makes beautiful websites so simply. They have all these great design templates. You pick one, and all of a sudden, it looks like you spent $250,000 on your website. Literally, these designers a lot of designers are very upset. A lot of web shops are very upset about Squarespace. I've seen this many times where they would normally spend, people would spend $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 on a website, and Squarespace does it for $1 a month, like $10 a month. It's unbelievably affordable. And everything, it starts at $8 a month, by the way. Everything is responsive. So when you pull it up on your iPad or your phone, you have to pinch and zoom to see the website. It all just works. And you're not at, bent over a barrel by all these crazy developer freelancers who then disappear for months. They go, on a hike and they go bike across the United States while your website still isn't responsive or still isn't working. You need to have a professional group behind your website, and that is Squarespace. They also support e-commerce now, and they just keep adding features. Like they have a calendar feature that's really good right now, and there's all these little plugins and little, craftsmanship that make the site look so good. I love the product. You can start your free trial today with no credit card required. And when you decide to sign up for Squarespace, please use the offer code TWiST to get 10% off your first purchase. Squarespace, build it beautiful. Build it beautiful. Please. It's a lot of ugly stuff going on in the world. A lot of ugly websites. Just use Squarespace and make the world beautiful. That's not their tagline. But I love beautiful websites. When I see a beautiful website for a conference, I buy a ticket. When I see a beautiful website for a product, I buy the product. When I see a beautiful website for a service or a startup, I want to meet with them. Go to squarespace.com and have a great, beautiful website. It's trusted by millions of people, including some of the most respected brands of the world. Their technology is state-of-the-art, secure, easy to use, scalable. You don't need to have a developer do it. I could talk for days. Thank you, Squarespace, for being one of my longest-running sponsors for This Week in Startups. I truly appreciate it. It means a lot to me. Okay, let's get back to the program. And when a company wants to get to you, they essentially have to go through him first.
Not necessarily. They just have to, like, the easiest way to get to me is through someone I trust.
Right.
Like, if you're like, dude, take a look at this, I immediately take a look at that thing, right? But you have to think about, well, you as one person can relate to the amount of unfiltered inbound.
It's insane.
Right? And now with Shark Tank, I get
Supernova.
Just that much more, right?
Yeah.
So it's just stupid.
Right.
And there's no quality filter on that. There's no indicator. There's no anything I can use to rely upon.
Raw
It's just
signal.
quality. Yeah. And yet so much of it, it comes down to that person, their resilience, their drive. Like, if you go to AngelList right now, for any idea, there's 10 people doing that thing. Like, literally, just make it up. Like, Pandora for wine. I bet you there's 4 right now, Pandora for wines and AngelList.
Yeah.
So how do you sort between those? You get some story on those people. You see what they're capable of, and you look at other people who you trust to vouch for them.
Do you try to understand the idea anymore? Or do you just go pure person?
I try to understand the idea, but particularly how I can help make the idea better. So one of the things, we have some rules. One of the rules is we don't invest in anything we don't think we can personally make better and more valuable. Which means really cool biotech stuff comes to me or clean energy stuff. And if I don't really understand it or think I can help it, then we're not going to do it.
Right.
We also, we have a few things. We only invest in deals where we think we have an opportunity to get rich, we call it, just to have upside opportunity for returns. Even if that means a small check goes up 20x, that's fine, but give ourselves an opportunity to actually make some money. We only invest in companies we'd be proud to tell our families we invested in. And like when my daughters grow up and they say, how do we make this money? That I'm forcing them to give away in our charitable foundation, that I'll be proud to say how we made it. And then I only invest in people who've had shitty jobs or who've lived, studied, or traveled extensively abroad. Those are my rules. So if you don't fit
shitty
those,
job.
Yeah.
That's probably why we like each other, because I think I've done every shitty job, and I think you've been in the shitty job category. Why is that important to you? What does that signal for you? Oh
God, it's everything. So I think one of the things that's happened is we've lost empathy in Silicon Valley. So, you took a different educational route than I did, but I went to a liberal arts college where I got to study abroad for half of the time I was there, constantly exposed to people in the developing world, people of very different walks of life with much more restricted social mobility ahead of them, even more overtly racist countries than we live in, and systems like that where you start to develop some real deep empathy for the human condition. And yet I went to work at a place like Google where so many of the most recent computer science grads have never left the country, have never had a job, they've never worked for tips, they've never done anything in the service community, they've never gotten their hands dirty, they got essentially paid to go to school. And so I worked alongside them and I saw the fucking entitlement that resulted. It was painful. I would see people yell back at the chefs at Google, and the deep, deep painful entitlement that I would witness, it just hurt me.
That's extraordinary. It's like, this Neiman Ranch sirloin.
Yeah.
This $14.
I think the quote I get quoted is like, so what? No more fucking pheasant today? Like it ran out, Like,
really, the pheasant was out.
The pheasant ran out. Yeah.
I think that's pretty much when they roll the guillotines in.
That should be.
It's pretty much the precursor.
You know what's funny? I actually, this is a little known fact, but I actually started an internship program in the kitchens at Google. So Chef Charlie, who ran the original chef, we built this internship program where you could get there one of two ways. One is like you're a foodie and like wanted to just spend a couple days in the kitchen. You could do that. You got paid as a regular employee, but they'd give you like a personalized apron. You get to go back there, watch some techniques, maybe plan a menu or something like that. Or you could be referred to the program by your manager, in which case it was like boot camp. It was kind of like like reform school. And Perfect. The chefs just beat the shit out of you to try and change your attitude. Yeah.
Attitude adjustment seminar.
Yeah, and so that was the thing at Google.
It's a leadership seminar. Clean these pots. Yep. All right, listen, we're going to continue the discussion, but I want to get a couple pitches in here. I want you to give candid, Chris Sacca level feedback, which is to say...
Is this a family show or...?
This will be explicit.
Okay.
We don't have the tip jar out right now because what's the point? It would be broken by now.
Yeah, exactly.
But let's start it out.
All right.
And I'm going to give you like 2 or 3 minutes here. Right. The second you get boring, I'm going to stop you. I have the clock right here. So here we go. First up is requested. Go.
All right, I'm Sonny. This is Coco, and I'm a restaurant owner. And 6 months into owning this restaurant, I noticed a couple problems.
Which restaurant?
It's called the Red Rabbit
You're
Kitchen
only
and Bar.
talking to me, so I can totally interrupt, right?
Is that cool?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
okay,
but it doesn't count against my time, Jay.
Okay, where is it?
It's in Midtown Sacramento.
Okay, what's it called?
It's called the Red Rabbit Kitchen and Bar.
Rabbit. Okay, what kind of
4,000 square feet. It's like farm to fork, share plates. New American, you'd say.
How many covers do you do a day?
Say again?
How many covers do you do today? How many
250.
people? Okay, right on.
Yeah,
cool.
It's pretty large. 4,000 square
so
feet, 55
owner.
employees. Yeah, I'm an owner. And it's 4 years old. And about 6 months in, I noticed a couple problems. The first thing is there really is no one's figured out dynamic pricing to drive me more business.
Yep.
Classic advertising doesn't work. And waiting for the check really kind of sucks.
Yep.
So I built Requested, which is, you can book a table, pay with your phone, dine and dash in style,
yep.
and drive business. So here's how it works. I've joined Requested with my profile. I have my payment methods link and my default tip. Back to the service industry, if you click into the default tip,
yep.
you can't go below 18%. That's on full amount. So we have a commitment to the service industry. So I'm going to take a couple friends out tonight for my last meeting of the day, 4 people, 4 p.m. So I'll update my booking here. Then what I'm seeing is seamless dynamic pricing for places that want to drive more business on their time.
Yep.
So if we scroll in, we get this awesome list. These are all locally owned, independent restaurants only.
This is real, by the way. This isn't...
this is live. Yeah, this is live right now. For you. Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to go to Block Butcher Bar. This is actually a really sick place. It's the premier charcuterie, all built in-house, and craft cocktail bar, so I can share it with my friends, check out their menu right in here, which is really awesome. Looks really good. If I want to update my payment method, I can just change it right in the reservation here. We have Apple Pay, which our competitor doesn't, which is awesome. So we're going to book it now. This is a real booking, by the way, yeah. So I'm booking this for my last meeting of the day, meet with my co-founders. Now I'm booked. Awesome. So to finish the process, we'll go in. The first magic that happens is they greet us by name. And then after that, it's going to be dine and dash.
What do they have on their end?
On their end, we have integrated into the POS. We're a tender inside the POS, so we've programmed the POS, and they also have a device with the sister app.
So they have a device and you're in the POS both? Which POS platforms are you touching?
We're experts in 22.
Okay.
Yeah, so Aloha on down. Yep.
Right on.
Yeah, so it's the experience you always wanted. So I'll show you some of our traction. So we launched at Launch Festival with Jason, and it was a different product. And as you can see, we iterated like crazy, and the boat was leaking like crazy. We were basically dying. And now we have about 450, 500 active users that are shopping every month. Those are people who booked and paid. Our revenue is finally ticking up. This is top line revenue, by the way. ARPU's for about $45. And total monthly bookings, this is sort of our guiding light on our star.
What's your rate? Like, how are you getting paid right now?
We get 10% of the entire transaction, and then we also pay the processing fees. So we go through Stripe, so we're keeping about 7%.
Right on.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yay,
so
Stripe.
This is starting to happen, monthly bookings. And iChart, but obviously I have an addendum here for you to keep here, Chris.
Yeah.
So we have repeatability finally with this new product.
Yeah.
11 weeks out. And this is how we're measuring growth. Retention is growing up. That's the red line. We're doing new plus resurrected divided by churn. So we're actually growing at a 1.5. But this is like the most important commodity for us, man. It's our community. We're building this amazing like foodie and merchant community, connecting them. And it's happening.
In Sacto, huh?
It's in Sacto right now. Yeah, we're in one market.
Being used anywhere else?
Right now, we're just in Sacto. So we're out raising our round. We did an angel round with Jason and Chamath and raised a little bit of money, got us to where we are, mostly our learnings, and now we need to get to the next round to continue to expand and grow.
Great. Well done.
You should have picked some higher class angels,
Absolutely.
Those guys aren't going to get you.
Yeah, they're just okay. Yeah,
that might be a red flag.
He went through the incubator program.
Yeah.
Was in the second class.
Well, that looks like a tight. I mean, look, that looks like a really tight app. You mentioned your competitor. I would have said they're competitors, but who do you see as your competitor right now?
I mean, certainly, probably the closest thing to us would be Reserve, although there's there's three big differentiators from both of what we're doing. But certainly Open Table and, anybody doing sort of, connecting.
What's that one that
foodies.
Gary Vee has in New York? Resi? Is
Resi,
that a
certainly.
thing still?
Resi, Table 8. Yeah, we're all, dogs in the race for sure.
Table 8's here in San Francisco, pretty powerful.
Yep. But they're very, very different because, Reserve and certainly Resi, I mean, you're paying a premium just to get a table. So you're really going after that white tablecloth, kind of the elite class. And we're really like,
What do you mean? So I'm a Reserve investor.
It's awesome.
Which originally started with some dynamic pricing idea, but it's not really in there now.
Yep.
And I'm curious, I know why, but I'd love to hear your speculation why they don't do it. But when you say premium, my experience using Reserve isn't that I'm paying a premium for the table at all. It's
right.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's a premium style of restaurant, like white table. I think the class of restaurant they're going after is a little more fine dining. Not that we don't have some of those in our network.
People used to say that about Uber's cars too, though.
That's right. No, certainly, and they can certainly expand the network down for sure.
Yeah.
We're just starting with really more the full service non-white tablecloth market of restaurants.
All right. But why are you different again?
From Reserve or Open Table?
Reserve, Open Table, Resi.
Table 8. Where we overlap for certain is where you're booking through mobile and you're paying with your phone. So that's pretty awesome.
Great.
Where we're different is the dynamic pricing piece.
Okay.
So either
why don't why don't the other guys do that anymore? And Reserve literally started with that.
Yeah.
In its bones. Why
did
don't they
ever
do it?
launch that?
Yeah.
They did. Mm-hmm. Well, how did it work?
Like from how did the restaurant set
the restaurant set it up?
Yeah, it wasn't deeply algorithmically driven, but the restaurant was in a place to determine how they wanted to be featured and what they wanted the discounting to be.
Yeah. Right.
That was a thing.
Yeah, for sure. So for us, why we do it is it actually becomes a small incentive to drive people in during the restaurant-specific off-peak times. And as it turns out, those off-peak times change.
I get it. But why isn't Reserve doing it anymore?
Why aren't they doing it? Well, I'd love to hear why.
Why are your competitors doing it? Look, I come from the Uber land where surge pricing drives everything.
My guess is they didn't have it integrated with the merchant in a smooth way. That's my guess.
Okay.
I don't know why. I mean, we had, as you saw on the chart, we had a different model. And with this name your own price thing, and actually part of the check was dynamic and it just didn't work. What we figured out is that...
Is your dynamic pricing only discounting?
No, it's also premium.
It's premium?
Yeah.
Well, how do you represent that in the UI? Like plus 20%?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Has anybody ever booked that yet?
Yes. Yeah, there's
and
a few.
What was it? Was there any experience?
Did they work for you?
Yeah, did it work? No. Did they? Wait, that's
so there's kind of two factors to that. For a really hot restaurant on a Friday night, somebody who really wants a table, and they're saying plus 20%. I understand why they want it,
but what was the actual experience? Did you talk to them? Did they feel like they got ripped off?
No, actually, because it ends up being about $9. $14 on the entire check.
Yeah, I was always curious, Chris. Do you think the restaurants feel bad about charging a premium? Like the drivers don't have a problem with it in Uber.
No, as a restaurant owner, and I'm a partner in a bunch of restaurants. Yeah, each of our chef partners felt horrible about the idea of having a premium associated with a restaurant.
Yeah, that's
despite the fact as the operator, I'm like, wait, we leave money on the table because we charge the same price on Saturday we do on Tuesday.
Is this some utilitarian, utopian, socialist?
It's just
it's historical in the restaurant
business? A little bit of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a philosophical thing.
I think it is.
Yeah, it is and certain places, not every place offers it, All right. And certainly we're in Sacramento, so it's very few places.
Cool.
Okay. Right. This space is insanely competitive right now. Well capitalized. I know Reserve has acquired a couple of companies that have failed in the space already. Mm-hmm. I know Resi acquired a company, and I think Table 8 has too. How do you keep up with all of the money that's being injected into the space?
Right.
How do you win?
Yeah. I believe it's really our relationship with the merchants first. Uh-huh. I'm a merchant, so I understand that world.
Yep.
And our relationship that we grow with our merchants, we're actually signing them up. We have a really great sales process. So it's really just speed to market and getting bookings and growing that community. It's really traction is how we're going to keep up. There's no secret. We definitely need to raise our next round so we can jump the chasm and get to the next phase. But our real highest value is the community we're growing of both merchants and customers.
Yeah.
And the rollout plan by city?
So we just have to go fast. Yeah, we just have to go fast.
What's your rollout plan for city? Are you going to go into Reserve's markets? Are you going to go around them?
We're actually going to go around them a little bit. So we want to go to Oakland next. We want to go to Portland, Seattle, Austin, Denver. We're looking at 400,000 to 700,000 population cities that have density, and that we can, win a little monopoly here and there, and really just try to get some market share around them and see what happens.
Awesome. Well done. Yes, Citrix GoToMeeting. I love this product. I use it constantly. Think about all the time, money, and hassle it takes to hold a meeting. People have to go from the peninsula up to here, back and forth, the 101, the 280, the 405, the 10. It doesn't matter where you live. There's tons of traffic, parking, nonsense. Planes are late and expensive. My recommendation is that you meet your clients and coworkers online with Citrix GoToMeeting. It is the smarter way to meet. And in fact, I just did this with 5 entrepreneurs from around the planet. I was meeting with them on a GoToMeeting, talking about how to present their companies and how to raise venture capital. It's easy to meet with your team wherever you need to, wherever you are, because GoToMeeting, you can meet from a computer, a tablet, a smartphone, no travel expenses, no hassle. Your team joins by just clicking a link. There's no sign up, there's no speed bumps. You turn on your webcam and you have HD quality. It is stunning. I literally just had 7 people show their HD video from around the globe, and it was perfect. And that's what you get when you use Citrix GoToMeeting. It's flawless. I love it. I've been using it for years. I probably do between 5 and 10 GoToMeetings a week, I would say, conservatively. And everyone gets to see what you're doing because you can switch the presenter. One person can present their product, next person can do a keynote, next person can use Reflector to show their iPhone app. It is incredible. I love it. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to sign up for a GoToMeeting today. Try it free for 30 days. There is nothing to lose. Just visit GoToMeeting.com and click on the Try It Free button. Do it now, and you'll have your first meeting set up and running in minutes. That's GoToMeeting.com for your free 30-day trial. And go ahead and thank at GoToMeeting on your Twitter handle. They love to see that our fans are loyal. Okay, let's get back to this great episode. So let's take that as a jumping off point. Companies at this point in time, what do you think are the things they should focus on when they're in a crowded market?
They got to be different. And I worry that this isn't different enough. Like some of the things you talked about in terms of differentiating this company are a little soft. And, again, not to be a homer, because, Joe Marchese at Reserve will tell you I'm the first person to bust his balls about why is this happening? Why are these other guys, doing this feature better than us? But I feel like there has to be something there that distinguishes you. And it's not necessarily people wearing your T-shirt and saying great things about you on Twitter and Facebook, et cetera. But there has to be some feature that either builds some network effect, that either builds some insurmountable economic advantage, that leverages your data advantage such that you can offer pricing nobody else can. I mean, think of what TK is doing at Uber now with Pool. He just knows that the demand is there such that he can lower the price, still afford the drivers, that make that much more money. He's just got a data advantage. You don't have that yet. And so I do think your human intelligence is an advantage that's gotten you, like your emotional intelligence and as a merchant yourself has probably gotten you a real competitive edge in that market, and will probably serve you in some of these second cities that aren't the first vector of attack for some of the big names, where they go in and they probably are more culturally and community driven and more independent merchants looking out for each other there. Yeah. I think, but that's really hard to quantify in a pitch. And so, right now I think you're up against just an incredibly, almost like bubbly, overfunded space, and it's going to be really hard.
It is the reality of today is if there is an opportunity, there are going to be 3, 4, 5 people going after it. It's just the nature of the internet circa 2015, 2016. It's going to be crowded.
It's going to be crowded, and what's going to happen then is people are just going to spend the hell out of everything they can raise. They're going to dilute the hell out of the company. They're going to raise it massive premiums because that's what the VC needs to justify the huge check they put in from their huge fund, and then they're going to blow it all on customer acquisition and parties and T-shirts and all that shit.
Negative gross margins.
It's just it's a shit show right now. But so I guess through that noise, what I'm always looking for are there insights or aspects of this particular product that are different, that like obviously to be competitive, et cetera, but are there things that are different? Some of the things that I think are interesting are some of the fixed fee, pricing for some tables. Some of the stuff is, I think it'd be interesting
like
to see.
Like the omakase kind of stuff.
Yeah, where you have a data advantage and know your margin is going to be that much higher, right? Where, some of it would be guaranteed inventory. I think just knowing that at the hardest seats in town, you have guaranteed the owner 2 of those tables every single night, and you know how to arbitrage those in your back end. That's an economic advantage and interesting that results on you knowing what the data are for that situation.
And that's exactly how we're based. We're not a request system.
Yeah.
So it's all guaranteed inventory.
Yeah.
That is
no. I mean, you committing to the merchant.
Oh, right.
I will 100% sell those tables tonight, and even if I don't, I'll eat them.
Right.
And so I think there's like once you have a data advantage, you can do much more aggressive things. Yeah. It's been funny to me that I haven't seen any of the premiums be dedicated to charity and stuff. So, like, look, let's bid on these tables
concept. Unpack that.
And so I just unpack that.
So you're saying.
I could get any of our chef partners. I can get excited about charging them extra for the table if I say like, hey, a lot of that premium goes right to charity water. And so they'll be like, oh,
what a
so now
idea.
now we're not capitalist pigs. We're actually like taking advantage of the fact that we leave all this money on the table every night to just send people in here for a charitable table. It's great. Why not?
That's a genius idea.
But so anyway, I just
do good by doing well. Do well by doing good. Whatever.
So I think in this situation, I just need to see more product differentiation.
Awesome. All right. Well done.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
All right.
And I think that's for you to focus on as you go into this fundraising, like right now, to say how are we going to be different.
That's right.
I wonder if you nail the dynamic pricing, if that's enough. Because I do think that is such a hard thing to nail. I mean, look at what TK has gone through with surge pricing. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs would have folded on the surge pricing issue. I mean, he got so much venom over surge pricing over such a long period of time, and he stuck to his guns about it.
Yeah, but you know what he had?
What?
From the very first New Year's where he turned that on.
Yeah.
He had the benefit of seeing the logs and seeing that those people who were complaining about it most were using Uber the next day and the next day and the next day.
Right.
And that they were totally full of shit. And so
he called their bullshit.
He completely stuck to his guns, but at the same time, like he just knew it was good business and that they were going to use it anyway.
Right.
And so that doesn't mystify me at all.
It is interesting too if you think about it. Because I remember having a conversation with him early on. He called me one Saturday night and we talked it through, and I think he realized, which is so impressive to me about TK, is he realized that getting the Uber was as valuable as the next car, the time it took to get your car, not the price you paid. The ability to get a car in under X minutes was really what it's about. And now you look at Uber today, there are so many people who are full Uber. Just full Uber. Like, I don't own a car or whatever it is.
Right.
Like, this is something now that has become... I don't think I can imagine not being able to get an Uber.
Yeah.
Maybe at Coachella or something insane or Sundance.
That's an insight you might hear from the requested team in the future is we know this whole thing comes down to I just need to be able to book a table in 2 minutes, right? Or we just know this whole thing comes down to I know I just need to be able to feed everybody for under $50. We in the early days of Uber, we already had those data points that showed us like if we get you into that ride 2.3 times, you're a rider for life. If we can get the price down to this tipping point, then you'll never not use us again, right? And yet, if the price goes to here, you're going to think twice. Like we just had that kind of data, and the data insights you get from a company like that are the kind of things that can help you really focus the strategy. Right now, what happens is we've taken kind of services that have existed in the paper form, brought them online, starting to take advantage of some of the unique digital aspects of it, like being able to change the prices on a menu. We have a high-end restaurant in Truckee that, again, charges the same on a Saturday night as they do on a Tuesday, and it drives me bonkers. So we started playing, menu roulette. Like, you may not get the same menu as the people at the table next to you. I want to,
you're A/B testing menus?
Absolutely. Like, I actually...
Can you imagine the two people are sitting there like, your steak au poivre is 37 and my steak au poivre is 45 at the same table? You better not make a mistake.
I'm willing to take that risk with our restaurant.
You're obviously not the waiter.
No, it's just it's fascinating that this restaurant that this world is revolved around that, right? And on Saturday nights we have to turn people away, and on Monday nights it's empty. And so
Crazy.
I should be able to dynamically price that stuff. I think there's an opportunity for this kind of stuff, but a company like that is really going to have to come out and boldly state why it's different.
Let me ask you a question from the angel investing side. I'm an investor in Reserve as well. Requested had a completely different business model. than reserve. And now they've pivoted and the businesses are looking a little bit more similar. You've had this happen inside your portfolio, I take it. One thing starts to look like another?
Not that much. Yeah, I've been lucky to avoid it.
Yeah.
What's a little bit, maybe. Yeah.
A little bit. How do you manage
maybe
that?
WordPress and Medium.
For sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think WordPress and Medium. Yeah. And in each time, well, it's funny. If it's a conflict going in, then it's something I make like quadruple opt-in by everybody involved.
Right.
And so, in the case of WordPress and Medium, we were already WordPress investors. Ev came along with Medium, and you've been friends with Ev forever. I would invest in anything he does. I like working with him, but we weren't going to be the lead investor.
Yeah.
So agreed with Ev. Okay, we're going to put in a generally immaterial amount of money for his overall fundraise. I'm not going to be on your board. I'm not going to be your guy.
Right.
But I wouldn't. It would kill me to not be involved in something he's building.
Yeah.
And then went back to Mullenweg and are like, are you worried about me? Are you cool with that? And he's like, oh fuck, I love Ev. And he got me started in this business and that kind of stuff. And so. It's people who manage it poorly that end up, there's a well-known firm that didn't manage their Instagram conflict well and then did not get to re-up into Instagram.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
fascinating.
And that's been written about. I'm not going to say it out loud, but that's been written about somewhere. But
wow.
It's just, I think people who manage it poorly or who let it cloud their judgment.
Oh, that must be Benchmark because they're on Instagram and they're in Snapchat.
No. Benchmark got to do Benchmark was an amazing contributor to Instagram.
Yeah.
But no, it's who didn't get to do it.
Oh, who didn't get to do it? Because they're in two. Because they're Snapchat.
They were in the seed and they didn't get to do the Series A with Kohler. Yeah.
Huh.
So, but that said, I think they can be managed well as long as they're super transparent about it. And I'll tell you where it's been more interesting for me is selling portfolio companies of ours to Twitter. So
explain that.
I've had Twitter acquire 6 of our companies.
6?
Yeah. And
are you leading that charge when that happens? Are you doing a whisper? Are you doing an intro?
Well,
or do you tell them go in the front door?
If I think something is first of all, I own a lot of Twitter, right?
Yeah.
So I'm deeply interested in the long-term health of Twitter.
Yeah.
And so if I think there's something that we're working on that, will be helpful to Twitter, I want it to be at Twitter.
Yeah.
And not just companies I'm working on, I'm advocating for them to buy things that other people, But if it's one of our projects, I will bang on the door until I get somebody there to care about it and pay attention.
Yeah.
And then, in that situation, it's funny. I mean, everyone's aware of the conflict, but I'm just like, look, Twitter, you're all big guys and gals and can fend for yourselves. I'm going to rep the entrepreneur now. And I just had a conversation with somebody about this 2 days ago. I was like, if I sold 6 companies to Twitter, I have 6 really angry email threads with Dick Costolo about why the fuck are you guys screwing these guys on stock and this kind of, it's a really contentious deal, but I find myself on the side of the little guy because it's less likely they have somebody to advocate for them and help them through that deal process.
How do you manage the relationship with, because you say you want to be super involved. One of your qualifiers is that you can help. Where's the line for when you're being helpful and when maybe some people have criticized you. They called you the Unabomber or something. Somebody made this up, Kara Swisher or something.
Because I wrote a manifesto about what was wrong with Twitter.
So when you write the manifesto, and listen, we're probably very similar in that we're both candid guys and we both like to talk and have an open dialogue.
Yeah.
At what point do you say, should I hit publish on this or not? And is there take me through your mindset when you wrote the Twitter manifesto of I bleed blue, I love this company, here's everything I would do. When do you decide to hit the publish key or not? Take me through your mind, because that was a seminal moment.
Well, you've never seen me write anything like that about any of our private companies at all.
Never.
Right.
No.
And so I spend a ton of my time helping. It's usually welcomed. Sometimes it's not because I'm loud and abrasive and opinionated and I'm wrong sometimes. And so, that, and I don't take board seats with 1 or 2 exceptions. And so it's based on an informal relationship with the entrepreneur. Do you think I'm being helpful? If so, then you're going to invite me in and take my advice. And if you're not, you're just not going to have me on campus. And so, and I think that's the best way to do it. I never really formalize my board or voting relationship, with the exception of there are a couple deals I've done. They were actually both women-led companies where nobody else would lead or take the board seat. And I was I'll just fucking do it just to move this thing ahead.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I'd like to be off the board and just have that informal advisory capacity. That said, with Twitter, we had something totally different, which was a management team that was unresponsive to investors, to a lot of their own employees, a board that was completely frozen, ineffective, just tone deaf and paralyzed across, all of those constituencies. And so I worked on that, as you know, internally for years.
Yeah.
To no avail. And so I wrote what I wrote. I finished most of that about 2 weeks before I published it. I showed it to most of the management team, friendly members of the board, the earliest employees, most of the biggest investors in the company.
Did anybody tell you don't publish? It's not helpful, or was that helpful?
Nope. I got from most people like, hey, you know what? Strike that particular point because I think it's a red herring. That shouldn't be an error. I would call people I trust, like, an Ev, for instance, and just be like, if I said all these things out loud, do you think I'm hurting the company? Or do you think I am distracting it? Or any of these product suggestions I have, things you think are incompatible with the future success of Twitter? And I would get across the board from everyone like, nope, those are obvious
no regrets in that.
No, those are things we've been talking about. Dude, you and I, among others, have been talking about a lot of that stuff since 2009. Yeah. 8 maybe.
Do you feel confident in the company now with Jack at the lead? Big controversy to CEO slots, obviously. That's a big controversy.
Yeah.
You seem to have gotten comfortable with this concept.
I got really comfortable with it, particularly because of the team he's got. So,
okay. But you were not fully comfortable with it. Like everybody said, this is a unique situation. You had to get comfortable with it.
I had to get comfortable with it. Okay. Yeah.
So what changed your mind?
Adam Bain.
Adam Bain.
Yeah.
And he was somebody who it looked like could have taken over and been the CEO. Do you think he would have done well?
Adam Bain could be the CEO any day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's so special about him?
There is nobody in tech who understands, can speak to, and is more appreciated by employees, investors, advertising partners, media and publishers, future recruits, other leaders of companies. Like, just name a constituency that and by which Adam isn't completely beloved.
Right.
He's just uniquely positive, impactful, cherished, and apolitical, effective.
So why not him as CEO? Why do you think Jack is so?
Because I think Adam wanted to do it with Jack.
So the dynamic duo. It's like, well, if we can get LeBron and Dwayne Wade to play together, why wouldn't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a super team.
Yeah. Look, Adam knows that Jack is a compliment to him on some of the product vision stuff. He knows with Jack in the lead, they definitely get a pass to change some stuff, to take on some religious issues like tweet length. I mean, I don't know anything about it, but you've seen it being debated.
Yeah.
And there hasn't been massive upheaval because you've got Jack in the lead now, right?
Yeah.
If a McKinsey consultant came in and recommended that Twitter reconsider 140 characters, there'd be a riot.
Right.
And yet, so working with a founder gives you that pass.
You're fully on board with going past 140 for verified accounts. I'm joking.
I have an opinion about this. It's frustrating to me that clicks go off network just to get extra characters.
Yes.
I hate that people post to Instagram so that they can post paragraphs, or post to Facebook and then have it auto post to Twitter, and then that click goes away. Yeah. It's stupid.
It was a cool device. It got us here. It may be a device that won't get us there. What got you here won't get you there, in a way.
It could be. I mean, this is such a mobile, tech-centric thing in the beginning. Yeah. There are aspects of this If you go beyond 140 characters, what do you need to preserve? Well, you need to have headline, like text still. You need to be able to have some uniform consumption experience where you can still peruse the tweets rather than have to drill down into every single one.
Yeah. It's called the more button. It's an ellipsis, 3 dots.
Yeah.
Let's go.
By the way, Narendra Roshril is going to tell me I just used peruse, the opposite of what it actually means.
Whatever.
What do you think it means, peruse? I always thought it meant to casually survey the
browse,
newspaper,
casually
right?
survey, browse.
Yeah, I think it's the opposite. Somebody can look it up. It's actually literally specifically.
I don't speak Russian.
Yeah, and so, but he calls me on it every time I say it.
Let's talk about the evolution of individuals. Jack was.
Yep.
Let's just face it. He was barbecued in that Nick Bilton book. He was barbecued, and it made him look very bad. He knows this. I think it hurt him personally, his feelings, I think. He went kind of underground for 2 years.
They were friends. He and Nick Bilton were close friends.
Yeah, and Nick's a journalist.
That was unexpected.
Okay, but not I mean, listen, there's always 3 versions of the truth. We know that, Rashomon style.
But because of that relationship, I actually expected that book to skewer everybody but Jack, and it was strange how
it went that way.
But
some of the skewering was fair in most people's estimation. Some was true, some maybe not. But he's evolved into a pretty great leader, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, look.
Well, what do you think? Was he unfairly skewered in that book?
I think, and I've said this publicly, and I've said this to him.
Yeah.
You know, given same circumstances back then, I understand why the board let go of Jack. Yeah. And I was there. I was part of the process, you know, like coming up with...
Why did they?
He was in over his head managing a company, right?
Right.
He was product visionary, in over his head managing a company.
Not a great manager of people at that time.
And the hardest thing for him was asking for help. And you've done this. Your first experience as a manager is always, you think that if you show vulnerability, it will make you weaker.
Right.
And so you kind of fake that you've got it all under control, and then it all falls apart, right? And then, I mean, one of my first experiences as a leader at Google was my partner and the project we were working on published in the notes, which are available to the whole company. Chris doesn't know what to do about this. And I yelled and screamed, like, "What'd you do? You just ruined my career." And then the very next meeting, 5 new people who were all going to volunteer their time to my project, plus Larry Page, showed up with answers to help guide our thing. And so I became kind of more powerful and influential by virtue of somebody admitting for me I didn't know what the hell to do. Jack had that issue in the earliest days. It was just, there was stuff. It was hard for him to maintain all aspects of the business without asking for help. And we'd say, "Jack, need help with the accounting stuff?" No, I got it. I'm like, why would he have had it? He was a developer,
young guy who'd never run
that was hard
company.
For him. That was hard for him. I think to that point, and so I don't actually regret that transition from Jack to Ev. I know it was painful incredibly painful for Jack, and but what Jack did was, rather than, and here's what's funny, I talked about this a little bit on Twitter recently, was I went and found, I even have it in this room actually, my old notebook from those days where we talked about firing Jack and how to do it. And one of the things I said is we have to give him a high salary for a long time because we're sending him out into the worst job market ever. Like, think about 2009.
This poor guy.
Yeah. And
he's gonna be destitute.
to think of him being the CEO of 2 public companies and billionaire now is just hilarious because I really was deeply worried about.
Yeah, this kid might not land on his feet.
Yeah, and I've been unemployed for a while, and and knowing what it's like trying to scrape it together, and I was worried.
Sure.
And I said,
rents are going up.
Like, we got to pay him well. To Jack's credit, instead of just landing on his ass, he set about becoming a student of management, becoming a student of leadership. He just took every opportunity, and with the increasing visibility of Twitter as a platform and a really cool statecraft platform, he just took every meeting he could to be like, so teach me about this stuff. He found incredible mentors, and that's why when people here still didn't wrap their head around how important Jack was, he was on the board of Disney.
Right.
People there were like, wow, this is a really insanely interesting, multifaceted guy who's involved in the civil rights movement, who's a huge student of design and art, who loves fashion and has really dissected that world, and meantime has been building a product that at Square is successful because in it is empathy for merchants. I mean, just deeply understanding the merchant community, which is a weird thing for a guy who supposedly rolls in our circles to just deeply understand what it's like to be at a farmer's market or a small business person at a cupcake shop in St. Louis or something. And so that's what he did. He, I think he deeply invested in evolving himself. And
what do you think happens in the next 2 or 3 years? You think he picks one company, gets the rumor I heard is a CEO of Square will emerge, and then he'll go full Twitter.
I mean, I don't know if that's a rumor. That's an idea that somebody might speculate on.
Right, okay. So
rumor means like somebody's got a master plan.
Okay. Well, let's speculate for a second. Speculation.
I think Square is the easier product to define without a visionary around.
Right.
And I think it continues to evolve to be a lending platform, a commercial lending platform.
Right. There's somebody who would be better than Jack to even run it, possibly.
And so, look, one of the things we've seen from Jack is he's awesome at hiring now.
Yeah.
So if you take the Jack who couldn't necessarily ask for help, and then look at the team and the board he's built at Square, there aren't better teams. I mean, that guy just nailed it in terms of, let me figure out who to get for product, figure out who to get for CFO and operations, and he attracts and retains talent in an amazing way.
And he's brought you in the tent.
So,
like, you seem to, because you were
Square
out.
shareholder.
No, but I'm saying I think at Twitter he's kind of brought you in the tent. I mean, you've been to the building, and when I say been to the building, I mean the inside. Yeah. They let you in.
No, I was always allowed in. And what do you mean? I was there all the time. I mean,
no,
first of all, in the earliest days, I had a key, but
they were a little bit. The sense I got was they were like, oh, Sacca, and now it seems like, oh, Sacca.
No, when I published that first, memo, the general counsel was worried I was a corporate raider and was going to launch a hostile takeover, and so they monitored all employee communications with me, and didn't want me to be on the premises. In fact, it was funny. Shark Tank was shooting like a promo for my Shark Tank episodes, and they wanted the Twitter logo in it, and Twitter wouldn't approve the logo.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, really?
Petty.
I'd been involved with the company.
I have to say that's extraordinarily petty.
I think I'd been involved with the company longer than anyone but ever Jack. Anyone who works there today.
That makes sense.
But it was pretty petty. In the end, it got sorted out. Luckily,
but now, Jack seems to be very inclusive. This might be one of the great evolutions of him as a manager.
Well, I think Jack is an incredibly talented manager. And again, look, we had this guy at Google named Jonathan Rosenberg. Did you ever meet him? He was the head of product, right? And Jonathan was easy to underestimate because he wasn't necessarily a product sage. You wouldn't have product jam sessions with that guy.
Yeah.
But Jonathan was the person who recruited, promoted, retained Susan, Marissa,
Susan Wojcicki, Marissa Mayer,
Sundar.
Sundar.
Every product person who's a household name now.
Yeah.
That was what Jonathan did. He knew how to not just an eye for talent, how to attract them, grow them, promote them.
He's the Lauren Michaels of Google.
It was just amazing, right? Yeah, Lauren is not. He never nails a punchline, right?
Right.
Lauren.
No, he is the punchline in some cases. They're kind of making fun of him when he's on.
And yet this guy was such a curator of talent, and I think one of the things that Jack has is he's an incredible curator of talent.
Awesome.
They're working on new board members right now. They're working on members of the management team there. And there is no doubt they are getting the world-class people thanks to Jack Dorsey.
I'm particularly impressed because he followed me.
Oh, he followed you?
Well, literally. What
a detente. What a thaw.
I mean, here's the thing. I'm on CNBC and, whatever. I speak my mind like you, and I don't hold public, unlike you, I'm not a shareholder. I don't hold public positions. So I was like, hey, listen, running two companies, that's kind of like, let's leave that to Elon Musk.
Yeah.
I don't think Jack's Elon Musk.
Uh-huh.
And I would say that to his face. I don't think anybody's Elon Musk. Uh-huh. But, lo and behold, I get a follow. And so I DM'd him back and I said, welcome, new follower. And he said, I just realized I wasn't following you.
Right.
And we went back and forth. And I think it's one of the things, in life, when you think about it, life is very short.
Yeah.
And, our business, people can get elbowed inadvertently, on purpose, whatever. And we all mature, we all grow.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's good to just move on and, keep it positive.
Yeah.
Let's take another pitch here. This has been amazing. Okay, May, go ahead. Right. 2 minutes on the clock.
How you doing?
2, 3.
2, now 2.
3.
All right.
2, 2, 3.
You got it.
Okay, here we go.
Thank you. Hi, my name is May, and this is Steve, and we are LeadIQ.
Cool.
We are automating sales prospecting. So finding quality leads is a challenge for all B2B companies.
Yep.
Typically, they hire SDRs, sales development reps, who needs to outreach to 300 prospects every week to get 5 demos appointment every week. This is really time-consuming. 60% of them do not meet quotas. So what we are doing, we are building technology to automate prospecting by automatically helping them building a list of prospects, automatically finding email addresses and contact info, and make it easy for them to do outreach and follow-ups. Let's just show you how it works. Once you download LeadIQ Chrome extension, you will see our sidebar on the side here. And whenever you go to social pages, LinkedIn, AngelList, maybe Twitter soon. Right now, no Twitter yet. But we will automatically capture people on your browsing history. So you will see the list of people that you are visiting, and you can review them. If you think this is good for your prospect list, you can just capture. With a click on a button, we automatically gather information from all over the internet and send it and build a list and send it to a Google spreadsheet. We give you their email address. This is something that LinkedIn doesn't give. We verify and validate.
What's your source for that?
We actually guess. We have a permutation and email permutation system.
So you just look at other people at Visa and guess how they format their names?
We have email format. We have the different one, and then we validate with mail server and social sites to see whether this is a verified email.
I guess.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But we verify.
But the verify part is interesting.
Exactly. And we deliver, we guarantee 95% deliverability on any emails that we verified.
Cool.
And they just use the verified emails.
Yeah.
We also built this sheet add-on so you can glance on every detail about this person in a single view. And we give information about how big the company is and the location in order to qualify their leads. Also, we sync with Salesforce CRM. So with one click to, everything goes to Salesforce.
Yeah. Okay.
That's really the key differentiator. Because we check everything at real time,
Yep.
our bounce rate is less than 5%.
Yeah.
Compared this to the industry average of 40%, because people leave their job and information gets out of date. So our customers love us because we've been able to increase their qualified demos by at least two times, and we help them achieve that with fewer SDRs than they could have. Our pricing is SaaS. We have individual pricing versus team pricing. We started going enterprise too, where now we are doing a pilot with a large company with more than 200 salespeople. So right now we are growing 20% month over month, and 60% of our revenue is now made up of the team plans, where the average MRR is about $500 a month for the whole team to use us. Interestingly, we started out as a product for individual people, where individual salespeople have signed up using the individual plan, just swiping their credit card. After a few months, they bring the whole sales team to use us. And then now we have the whole team basically signing up on the team plan. What we have learned from our customers from these past few months is that the teams have team collaboration needs around prospecting that no other solutions in the market have really done well. For example, they want to know if a prospect has been prospected by another team member before. Most of the product out there are catered to individual salespeople. No one has really done team collaboration really well. So we started out as a prospecting platform for individual salespeople. Now we're building out more team features to allow more team collaboration, knowing where the teams are and then helping each other. And we are planning to do a full prospecting automation platform for teams.
Cool.
So yeah, we are LeadIQ, we are automating sales prospecting, and in order to go to enterprise.
How many people are you?
We are right now a team of about 5.
5?
Yeah, and 3 contractors.
3 contractors. And you raised some money?
We raised a little seed. A few months ago, we were launching incubator batch 2.
Okay.
So we just raised about 2-3 months ago, but we know in order to go enterprise, we need to raise more money.
How much did you raise total? Who are the top 2 or 3 investors?
We raised $880K about 3 months ago, and the top investor is Launch Fund, Jason Syndicate, and Draper Associate, Tim Draper.
So how big does this get?
This can be...
I mean, there's 2 paths for these companies. You either end up becoming another Salesforce, or you end up getting tucked into Salesforce.
We think it's the second. We are not trying to compete with CRM. We are positioning ourselves before CRM, where we will be the prospecting platform to feed CRM. So we have partnership where we are actually listed on CRM App Exchange.
Yeah.
And a couple of other CRMs have actually approached us, hey, we want you to integrate with us too.
Yeah.
So,
but do you think you ultimately get bought by one of those? Is that the exit for the company?
It's a potential exit, right?
Okay. And so, or does this just become the kind of thing where you make enough cash flow, you pay yourselves, and it's great, and you pay off dividends to your investors?
I think we would like to go enterprise, and we would like to actually build more features because the CRM has become just a record of database. And it's really hard to do reporting, and now more and more people starting to do prospecting.
Yeah.
And it's all still really manual. People typically hire a bunch of virtual assistants in the Philippines to do that.
Yeah.
All of the work is still manual. Everybody we talk to. And the interesting thing is prospecting is becoming a norm now because all people's information are now on the internet. A few years ago, you can't really find this information. But now everybody start tweeting, they put information on Facebook. It's easier to find a good quality prospect on the internet than ever before, which is why the space is pretty crowded. Everybody's trying to do this now. However, we believe that by focusing on the team and on companies and on enterprise, we will be able to deliver better quality.
Do you have
solution.
any specific technology advantage?
We're very product engineering focused. We are a team of 8. We have 5 engineers, 1 product person, 1 designer, and basically just 1 part-time marketing. So we are making sure that the product that we are building is actually very scalable. The fact that we are going all over the internet and gather information really fast, we have put a lot of effort in there. This is going to be technology solution instead of the virtual assistant. There are other companies in the industry, but they have been going through where they hire a lot of virtual assistants at the back end to help them gather the list. We are not doing that. We are focusing everything based on technology.
Automation.
Right.
Okay. What's your background?
I used to work at Oracle as a product management. My co-founder, Angelo, used to work at Yahoo, and he founded a couple of other startups before. Steve used to be a designer at Oracle too. This is where we met.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. How long have you been working on this?
About 8 months.
Right on.
Yeah. Jason found us early. When we joined the incubator, we didn't have this yet.
How do you
else.
pick this company over others in a crowded field like that?
What I've come to determine is my skill is not in necessarily the idea, but in looking at the person's execution, their motivation, and their desire to win. So I find people who are super resourceful and resilient, and I look at their early work, and I try to say, is there anybody in the world who could have done better given the resources they had? So if this person had $1, did they get $10 out of it in terms of their ability to execute? So when I saw May, the original product was doing well, and it was using Google's Google Apps has a new feature where you can have add-ons. And they had just added it maybe a year ago or a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And she had built a tool which you could upload your email list. And when you put your email list in, it would magically find the name of the person and their Twitter handle and their LinkedIn profile and do what's called lead enrichment. Based on an email, fill in the data. And I said, this is incredible. I got 60, 70,000 emails. I need this. And she said, yeah, you're going to need it once. And then I said, you know what would be better? When she was in the incubator, I said, it would be better if, as I surf the internet, it just automatically added any Crunchbase profile, any AngelList profile, any LinkedIn profile. Just put the person's name in there for later. And she came back the next week and built it. And I said, if this person is so goddamn smart that they can listen to an idea from an angel investor who sees it all and execute and build an MVP that fast. So their ability to execute and study the market is preternatural. Like May is a machine at listening and studying and then executing. And so when I saw that early on, I wasn't going to accept them and I was going to tell them, like, keep working on it, come to the next incubator. But there was just something about her ability to really listen and then execute on ideas. So every week in the incubator, she was one of the weakest companies at the beginning. And when people in the incubator, I asked the investors who come each week to say which company they're most interested in. They're number one and number two out of 7 companies. And there's 3 investors who come, and nobody picked her. And then everybody picked her. And it was just this sort of marathon. So I think it's the ability to execute and be resilient is my new thesis for early stage.
What are you going to say, May?
You have seen a lot of companies, so we would love your feedback.
Well, I love these companies that are going after spaces where there's just cash and where there's such a tight feedback loop that you don't have to like hand wave and convince somebody that's worth money. It either makes them money or it doesn't, right? And I think that's one of the interesting things ultimately about pricing these things is that in contrast to that earlier iteration you had where it's like one time I enhance your email list and there's no recurring value. If there really is recurring value here to a salesperson, then I think you might even consider giving it away at first and getting them hooked in. You know, there's a lot of play you have in these types of platforms where somebody says, geez, this is going to save my ass. This is going to help me make my quota. This is going to help me make the quarter if I get this to all the people in my company. And so I think, seeing some on-ramp to that pricing might be helpful. I was in one of the very first companies that ever used Salesforce, and they gave it to us for free in the beginning. This is like 2001. And they gave it to us for free. And as a result, we actually found we not only used it for our sales pipeline, this now doesn't sound so revolutionary, but at the time we used it for tickets. And nobody had, it just wasn't built for that. We just kind of rewrote the names of the fields to use it for ticket tracking back in 2001. And it was because we had the freedom to experiment with it because we weren't worried about the cost of it. This is a 30-person startup that was, in 2001, it was like the verge of bankruptcy kind of thing. So I think playing around with your pricing might actually be great for your business.
Did you try freemium? Did you try giving the first 100 leads free?
Can you go back to the revenue graph? Yep. Actually, you see a large, this is our revenue, and the green part is the upgrades. And we did in July and August give out a lot of free, and then it was just like really hugely discounted, 75% discount. And this is where like after 3 months, then we saw because we just gave the discount for 3 months. After the 3 months, people just upgraded. And then they started paying up.
The other reason is, when you give them access, don't you get to scrape their emails and put them into your big pile too?
That's right. We're building our database too.
Yeah. So this is the kind of thing it feels like you'd want everyone in the world to use at some point. And so, unlike a lot of companies where they might just feel a little bit let down by the churn off it, there's probably some incremental value to every single user who signs up and even abandons to you, right? Because ultimately you just get that much more information from them.
This reminds me of Plaxo with a purpose. You remember Plaxo was like just so
Plaxo.
viral and crazy, but it didn't seem to have a purpose.
Yeah.
And like, keep my thing up to date.
They tried to make it kind of social.
And it was a huge mistake.
Yeah.
They tried to make Facebook out of it, right?
Yeah. No, look, I think this
replaces Salesforce for the bottom half.
The biggest thing about Plaxo and about LinkedIn that has to be in the minds of products like this all the time is that there's a complete imbalance. Like the reason I just turned on LinkedIn again for the first time in 5 years maybe, and it's just, it's horrible. I can't, for me.
It doesn't work for super routers.
Because, there's the have and have-nots of contacts, right? And so for me, it doesn't work.
Super routers get burnt out.
And that was one of the things with Plaxo is that for people who are trying to build their network and trying to make people, that's great. But for people who are on the receiving ends of those, they don't want it. They become too accessible. It becomes a mess. There's no quality filter. And so any attempts to do these things have to always be cognizant of, are we balancing the desire for that contact with making sure it's quality enough that when it hits that person, it's reasonable, right? Now, anyone who's opted into the world of email just knows there is no balance. It's just a fucking free-for-all, and your inboxes are going to look like a disaster. But that's like when you can really start to understand those constituencies and find some balance there, that's what's great. And that's why I would differentiate this from Plaxo, because I actually don't think they're building a bilateral component of this. I think it's actually unilateral, and the people who are on the receiving end of it don't even realize.
Yeah,
so
precisely.
Yeah.
I think it ultimately replaces Salesforce for the bottom 50% of Salesforce's current user base. Because for those people, Salesforce is so complex, and it's more work to use it. With yours, since you're starting with the lead, it's like the lead is the beginning and the end of the need for the bottom half of salespeople. If you have thousands of salespeople, maybe you need Salesforce. I think if you have under 500 salespeople or under 200 salespeople, I think you need LeadIQ and not Salesforce.
That's true, and I think we've seen that because of our integration with Google Sheet.
Yeah.
And for most people who are not using CRM, they're just using a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
have you paid? Yeah. We have a company called Streak. Have you seen those guys?
Streak CRM. Yeah, they're great.
It's an amazingly huge business that, again, every time a new user comes along, their business gets stronger because they know more and more. And so,
Streak's a great business.
It's a really cool ecosystem.
Awesome.
Wish you guys luck.
Okay.
All right, well done.
Thank you.
Okay. The incubator is like my new Open Angel forum. And I had Open Angel forum at my house last night.
I was going to say, you have an Open Angel forum now,
I started it up again because there's so many people who are at this stage. I think the stage we started with Requested, where they got through their seed funding. They got through their angel funding, but there's a logjam at seed.
Yeah.
So people who can write the $500K check, there's not enough of them anymore. And we obviously know there was a Series A crunch at one point. But now we're starting to see that logjam move down. So companies that would have passed mustard with us or VCs, 2 or 3 years ago, they're just not getting it done. The VCs can take a wait-and-see approach. I don't know if you're seeing this in your portfolio, but
I am. I'm seeing a lot of goofy stuff in the portfolio.
Yeah.
I'm seeing companies. I just talked to a founder yesterday. She, I'm not involved in her company, but she's an old colleague of mine, and she was calling for advice. And she'd just come back from a meeting with a VC who you and I know, who said, so you can get this thing to $50 million 2 years from now, where does that get us in terms of valuation? I'm not interested. And I was just like, are we serious with this now? Like, have we gotten so like $50 million in annual revenue 2 years from now? It's already doing, and it's not going to be interesting. I think we've lost a lot of perspective.
Right. What do you think the solution is for these log jams, and in an era of noise and 50 people going after whatever the shiny new object vertical is?
It's all going to fall apart soon.
It's all going to fall apart.
What
does it look like?
Just, the winter is coming, and it's not as apocalyptic as it was the first time around, because a lot of these are real businesses, but we're going to see layoffs here. We're going to see the exit windows close. We're going to see layoffs here. We're going to see just more accountability. This money has been for free, and people have been able to mark it up on paper. But
free money era ending. That means
remember, I'm talking about free money for LP. LPs have been giving money wantonly to late-stage momentum funds. Right. So here's how it goes. There were a couple of these funds, so I'll give credit to like Yuri at DST, Bob Zangrillo at North Star. There were some of these guys who were doing some of this momentum investing a while ago. I saw that and was like, shit, I don't want to get left out. And I started buying up all of Twitter, right? And started buying up some other companies and raised tons and tons of money. It was like, that's amazing what these guys are doing. While we were up until that point, we'd still been busy trying to convince everyone on Wall Street that our companies would matter someday. Remember that? Like I would, I'd go to your events and there'd be like this skepticism that Twitter was ever going to be a thing.
Yeah. They're like, this
and
never
I would sit
work.
on stage for years and be like, no, there's a real business there. And finally I was like, fuck it, I'll just buy it all. And so we started rolling it all up. And then as that happened and became more and more visible that was the thing and the SPVs were happening, everyone started raising one. And then the mutual fund guys came in and said, well, look, none of this stuff's gone public enough. We're not capturing those gains when it's in the public market anymore, so we better get involved in the private stuff.
Right.
And so Morgan,
Marketplace
Fidelity,
dynamics,
T. Rowe, all these
in.
guys came. The hedge fund started showing up, right? The private equity firm started showing up, all these guys. And yet the money is like limitless for them. I mean, we could have another $1 billion raised by the end of the year if we decided to do it. It's just there. It's just there. And you see it everywhere. And even
dry powder everywhere.
Yeah. And for firms that haven't even done spectacularly well or anything, it's just there. There's an abundance of this capital because it's hot. And when you get these markups on paper, when you see Snapchat go from 80 million to, 600 million to $1 billion to it's 19 now, depending, Fidelity carries it differently, but I think 16 or 19 was their last round. It's easy for everyone underlying that to show crazy markups. I mean, look, our cost basis in Uber is
slightly
$3.5 million, right? Was the first valuation.
That's what I heard.
And so you go from there to recording it somewhere between 50 and $70 billion now, and everybody who's involved looks like a hero, and they've all been able to fundraise more on the back of that, even the guys who just got involved a year ago. And so that's I think fueling a lot of this. When there's all this money institutionally, then it's got to get put somewhere, right?
But now it's slowed down. Now everybody, Fidelity, is marking stuff down. We seem to have a backstop.
They just marked some of those back up again,
Did they?
Yeah.
What's driving these people? I don't understand. They read TechCrunch and then they mark the investment down.
They just mark some of that back up. Yeah.
Then the stock market comes back. They mark it back up.
They marked Blue Bottle down again, but Snapchat got marked back up. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Like they do this stuff all the time. Nobody usually pays attention until it just happened now.
It's sort of like they're almost tracking it like a publicly traded stock. I mean, even though it's not publicly traded. Why don't they just be quiet? They made their investment be quiet.
No, they have to for their own. That's their own rules. They have to do that.
They have to. Every month?
Look, every quarter? No, every quarter. I value stuff. If you're an LP in my fund, I value stuff every quarter. Right? I have to say that. And if something's not doing well...
It's not publicly broadcast, though.
I ask my LPs to keep it confidential. It happens every now and then. A long time before Path hit the skids, I just told our LPs, this is not going to pan out. We're going to write it down. Luckily that didn't become news or anything like that, but we could just tell Path wasn't going to live up to our expectations. So we wrote it down to zero. But we have to do that. We have to go through that exercise every quarter. Everybody does.
Yeah.
So anyway, my point is there's an abundance of money on the investor side. And that's got to get put to work because it's in the investors' incentives to put it to work so they can go raise more.
Right.
And so
and get those
until
fees that we talked about.
slows down, this other stuff isn't going to slow down.
Yeah. And so the solution for young companies and founders who are listening is what? What should they focus on in the middle of this blizzard of capital, and then there's a drought in certain parts? It's like they're living in a desert with a blizzard.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I'm not going to do a Sequoia rip good times presentation or anything because I don't think that's it. I think for those of us who survived Web 1.0, this is a very different time. These are real businesses. They're not total bullshit. They're not built on the back of huge parties. Yes, there are outliers that get highlighted in whatever the modern equivalent of Valleywag is now. I can't even keep track of.
Yeah, who knows?
Of who's writing what.
Who's hating right now?
What's the key
who's the
hater
most
blog?
bitter in their personal life right now?
Yeah.
And taking it out on everybody.
Yeah.
This is really, there's always somebody in journalism, at the far right, because I'm a journalist, I can say this kind of stuff, but basically what happens is...
It's a personal thing.
It's literally a personal thing. Somebody's personal life becomes a shit show, and it comes out in their writing.
Yeah.
I know for me, I've had a sharp tongue, I've written things, I have sharp elbows, I wrote some stuff. And I look back on the times when my elbows were sharpest, and maybe at that time in my life, I was feeling like maybe I wasn't where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Or maybe I was aspirational, maybe I was a little pissed off about something, right? And you have that edge as a journalist, and what happens is, if you write and that edge gets you reinforced, page views, notability, whatever, your writing starts to trend that way.
Yeah.
And it trends that way until you cross the line of reality. And once you cross the reality line, then everybody goes, well, that guy's off the reservation. He jumped the fence. This guy's gone crazy. He left the...
I don't know. We've never known anyone like that. What are you talking about?
It's almost, I think a lot of journalists go through it. And that's what people have to keep in mind
all the time. It's
this is the peanut gallery, right? Yeah. The journalists, there's a cohort that are amazing. They're truth tellers, right? There's 60 Minutes, there's Frontline. These are the journalists. Then there's everybody else, right? And everybody else, they could have great moments of journalistic integrity and great random acts of journalism can occur. But are they really great journalists if their bitter personal life is coloring their interpretation of the truth?
We need a whole separate chapter on this, man.
Jesus, you push it.
We can call it. We'll just.
I know that you're. Listen,
what's the episode title?
Listen,
Pando. Is that the episode?
I'm not talking about Pando.
Of course, you're not talking about Pando.
I'm talking about Panda. I'm talking about.
You're not talking about Arrington.
I'm not talking about anybody's.
I know you're not talking about Arrington moving to Washington. No, look. So to bring it back to, companies today have to be different. They have to just be different. They have to have a clear, unfair advantage. There's no doubt about that.
Clear, unfair advantage.
Yeah.
And that's what you're looking for. When you're talking to May and you're talking to Sunny from Requested, you're looking for that. And
why are you different? Why are you uniquely talented? Why are you uniquely accomplished?
Okay.
What are you doing that nobody else can do right now?
I love it. Is this your filter? This is your filter.
That's one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to go into one of these spending battles, right? They just, all these companies that try and outspend each other. Look what happened to RDO and Spotify and, RDO didn't have anything they were uniquely good at.
Right.
And so they just got caught spending,
everything
right?
got commoditized.
Lyft has nothing they're uniquely good at. That's why Lyft goes away.
Yeah.
And so Lyft does not win.
Acquisition bid. Yeah.
Who buys it? Not Uber. Travis will never buy it. It goes away. It doesn't make money right now.
Never say never.
It doesn't make any money.
It doesn't make any money. That's true. Yeah, there's no reason to buy it, of course. No, I don't think they
don't have a data advantage. They don't have a network advantage. They have higher wait times across the whole network because they don't have the participant advantage.
There's people who do irrational things and buy stuff irrationally. It happens.
Like Carl Icahn, yeah.
If your crazy uncle...
he invested in it.
If your crazy uncle's your lead investor...
Yeah.
Like, he's the guy who comes to Thanksgiving...
Yeah, exactly.
And, says something that's completely inappropriate.
Yeah.
Or has some, incredible observation, and, everybody is just totally, completely offended by his presence. All right, let's do the last one, and then we're going to get the hell out of here. Okay,
right.
Go ahead. This is amazing, by the way. I know you got to get out of here in 12 minutes.
No, we're good.
18 minutes, we're good? Okay, here we go.
So we're Benchmade Modern.
Oh, I've heard of you guys.
Yeah?
You're the couches.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think Ted Reingold, is he a buddy of yours, or is he involved? He's an investor.
Well. Yeah, absolutely.
Ted's our
buddy.
He's a scout for you? Is that what you're about to
say? He's a COO at one of our companies. An old friend, and I know I've seen versions of your deck since the very beginning.
So it's grown quite a bit.
Yeah.
And we've grown quite a bit as
right
well.
On.
So basically, we make custom sofas in as little as 24 hours. We make them by the inch. We've got 2 different sales channels. We've got our web, of course, and then we've got the brick and mortar store. So on our website, if you come, you'll see 8 different sofa collections. Each one of these sofas can be made in all the different variations and sizes, corner sectionals, chaises. We even can make an ottoman, Shaquille O'Neal style, giant stuff. When you come to our product page, you can quickly scroll down. Everything is priced by the inch. When you get to the bottom, you can choose how you want that made. We make it in 7 days with no extra charge, and in 24 hours with a little additional charge. And then as that 24-hour shifts, as we get overloaded, that will become dynamic pricing. So that will kind of change with the model as well. The cool thing about this and the online experience is the send the printout button. So what you do is you hit that send printout button. You've chosen an actual size sofa. We send you a full-scale plot of that sofa.
That comes in the mail?
It comes in the mail.
That's rad.
You lay it out on the floor. You can see if that's the right fit. We kind of take away that, oh my God, I don't know how to use a measuring tape. Is it going to fit? All that. You can trim it down 1 inch, whatever, either way, and you can really tell that sofa is going to fit in your house. So then you come into our stores. So we are opening up hybrid stores. These are 800 to 1,200 square foot hybrid stores. It's an online in-store experience. So you walk up to our iPad kiosk. You choose the sofa you want. Our robot Petunia grabs that sofa off the wall, brings it to your feet, allows you to sit on it, touch and feel it. All 8 of our sofas will be here. You get another one, put one back until you find the right sofa. You can print out through the center there. You can print out. You can take this home. You can take some swatches home, and you can order right where you left off in the store. So these are like a sit shop experience. It's a whole new way of kind of doing it. So then, once you've purchased that sofa, we send you a link to the actual manufacturing process. So this particular sofa has gone through the framing department, it's gone through the sewing department, and it's in upholstery now. You can click on some of these things. It will tell you about the process, the sofa being manufactured, who made it, kind of put a personal spin on it. And then once it's packed and ready to go, you can track it like an Uber car all the way to your house. So this particular sofa came from LA, went through the East Bay to San Francisco directly at your house. We're bypassing all tracking systems since we use a ton of trucks to get to wherever the sofa's going. Our revenue to date, so we've been in business to business. This is what's helped us build and get us to this point. This is how we've fine-tuned the
make them for?
We make them for
like
True
HG
Modern
Buttercup or
and
like
Dot
that?
and Bow.
Okay, all right.
Right? We've utilized this to get our manufacturing tight. So when we went to direct to customer, where we've just started, we're starting to see this, and we're able to produce sofas in 24 hours by the inch, which is like unheard of in that time frame.
Where?
In Los Angeles. We have our own factory in Los Angeles. We've got a 36-month plan. We start in the sofa business here on our first store. Because we know sofas well, we've been doing it for a year and a half, business to business, in our factory. We feel like we can
By the way, that's just a funny statement, right? Because we know sofas well, because we've been doing them for a year and a half. It's just kind of funny. Like,
well, I've been doing
like your grandfather would laugh that off, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you've been in the business for a year and a half, so you
I've
know
been
everything.
in the furniture business for 25 years.
I've
I've
what
designed
I want
for
to hear.
Pottery
All right.
Barn,
That's what you want to hear.
Walmart,
Right
all
on.
the big guys. I've run this particular factory, my own, for the last 2 years.
That's strong.
So then we get up into here, and we are going to add occasional furniture, upholstered beds, and area rugs. Now, we are doing this right now in our own factory. We're starting to sample that on our existing machinery with our existing staff. So we don't have to redo anything to be able to offer those things. That puts us right into the home furnishing business on our second store. So we go from sofa store to home furnishing store at 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. And then when we get to that 36 month, we'll add another factory on the East Coast and roll out our national rollout. So a little bit about me. We're raising 1.5 at a 5 million cap. I'm the CEO of True Modern to date. It's a national wholesale brand we sell throughout the country. We've got 13 employees at Benchmade. I've got 22 years of experience. I've been doing this for 20 years, 22 years. I spent a ton of time overseas at factories for Pottery Barn, Target. I had aisles of furniture at Target. We did really, really well. We've got $610,000 sales year to date at Benchmade, and 47 of that is direct.
Where's that first store going?
We have our first store, I'm very excited to say, on Valencia and 16th. We're under construction right now.
Such hipsters.
Yeah,
All right.
right in the middle of it.
Cool.
And who's your neighbor?
Unfortunately, they're not our neighbor anymore. Casper was going to be our neighbor.
Oh, yeah.
They came in and out. They couldn't reach a deal. We have a new neighbor coming in that's a on-demand sweater looming company. So it's a perfect fit.
Uber for sweaters.
For sweaters.
For loomers.
Yeah.
Uber for loomers?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So it's really exciting.
Okay, feedback.
Is anyone else close to you in terms of manufacturing with this kind of turnaround time?
No.
Okay, so that's one of these distinct competitive advantages, I would say.
For sure.
And I got a little bit of advanced notice of your business because I remember looking at your deck early, and Ted's always been a champion of you and stuff. So that seems like beyond even your design experience. Like, as someone who routinely waits 12 weeks for it seems like any piece of furniture these days, you can turn these things around that quickly.
Yeah, we do it quick. And what's really cool is that I believe in our case is I'm from the furniture industry. Like, I didn't just find a problem and figure this out. This is what I do. I've been doing this forever. So I think that's really our advantage. We can layer in coffee tables and all that. We've been manufacturing that stuff for years. So that's a real easy one for us. We do it faster. And then this whole transparency thing through from start to finish. There's a dead zone. When you swipe your card, right? There's that moment, that 2 week, 6 week moment where the anxiety kicks in, because typically you're buying a sofa for a party or guests are coming in town and all that. So we're showing you all along the way, and we're eliminating all that feedback coming back to us and all that. We're condensing it, of course, but we're giving you total transparency through the entire manufacturing process.
So I feel that. Just dropped my phone, but I mean, we actually just had somebody miss a delivery window for a sofa for Thanksgiving. Literally just went through that.
Awesome.
Still have no idea when they'll be like, we'll let you know when it hits our warehouse.
You bought the wrong sofa.
Yeah, totally should have come to you guys. But,
how much did you pay for that sofa, Chris Sacca?
Right?
But the one thing I would caution is that it's sometimes scary to draw conclusions about which aspects of your service are going to matter most when you don't actually have a ton of business yet. So when I look at how relatively small the consumer business is still, like saying like one of the key components of this is like the transparency about that being delivered. Like anecdotally, I like that, but how much do you know that's going to be a kind of thing that drives somebody to buy your product?
So I have $2 million sales to date in the True Modern brand for this year.
So True Modern does that too. You show that
we sell wholesale.
I know.
Right?
Okay.
No, I don't do any of that.
All right.
So I talk to
you
customers.
only have
constantly.
Okay. So you only have a few sales though with this interface.
But we are dealing with customers daily.
And so you just deeply know in your bones that that's one thing, and people get pissed about is paying and then not knowing where their couch is.
It's not even in my bones. I mean, we hear it.
Do they care
daily.
more about that than it being delivered 24 hours later?
We sell to Wayfair. Great example. We sell wholesale to Wayfair, right? And their Wayfair customers call us and say, "Where's my sofa? Has it even been started?"
But what's the bigger problem? Is it how fast you can get one of these things made and delivered, or is it just knowing where it is in the process? That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
You have a few different value
question.
propositions here,
Yeah.
right? And I'm just cautioning against like drawing too firm a conclusion about which of them are driving the business when it's not a huge business yet. So even if you're bullish on the business, like, so some of it is, okay, these are pretty cool designs. That's something you didn't totally focus on, but those are some pretty hip designs, right? They look
super modern.
mid-century modern and hip and cool, and I'm sure that's because you've been a designer for 22 years. And so I'm sure you have some cool fabrics that are hard to figure out online, but when people come into your robot-driven kiosk store hybrid thing, that'll be a competitive advantage of yours. But what I'm curious about is, with relatively few data points, what are the things you think are going to be the big driver here? Is it? I honestly, I wanted a couch for my office. I didn't know where to get one in 24 hours. Like, we finally, our assistant went to HD Putter Cup and was like, which one of these can I walk out of here with? Like, even you go to a Macy's and they're like, that's a floor model, you can't have it, right? And so
so what we do best, we make sofas, right? That is what we do. That's our core.
But I want to say couch. Am I offending everybody?
That's our core
is that the wrong word?
No, it's like kind of East Coast, West Coast.
So blue collar, dude.
Yeah, it's East Coast, West Coast, right? Your couch.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I need a couch because when I'm in my office, like if I gotta take a nap, I need a couch. I don't want a bed.
I have a standing desk. How can you have a standing desk without a couch?
I kind of like, if I'm gonna stand all day, I might want to take a nap.
We make sofas.
That's
right?
I don't want the
and
French
we make
one.
them
I want the American
custom by the inch. That's what we do.
Yeah.
If you want it fast, great.
Yeah.
If you want to know where it is in the process, great. These are all bells and whistles.
But hold on. Let's break that apart. Like I buy a lot of custom furniture. I mean, we sleep with we share our bed with our kids, and so we have a 9-foot wide bed, right? Like I've been through the custom furniture designing and buying process over and over again. And so saying like, hey, we design and build these things by the inch, like that's done, right?
But how did it go?
Doing that and getting it the next day is
and
totally
different.
different.
How much did it cost?
Right? I don't know. It costs. I mean, I think our bed costs more than our car.
Yeah.
So, so
my sofas are $2,000.
He drives a Tesla, by the way.
$2,000.
So that's what I'm trying to get to, though. I'm trying to get to is like, so is it the cost? Is it the speed? Is it the design? Is it the customization? Like, what do people actually care about?
People.
One of the pitfalls is thinking that they care about all of them sometimes because it can. Because
what do you hear most? My argument has always been to that, and we get pushed this like pick one thing, right? But the one thing that we're picking is actually the experience. How do you hear all the time, we bought a sofa, it took 18 weeks, it was a horrible experience, we had, bad customer service, the truck driver sucked, like everything about it was a bad experience. So what I've really looked at is, first of all, we need to make a good quality product. Done. That's number one, okay? But then we need to fix that entire experience across the board. It all needs to be fixed. It's not that the Uber drivers have a nicer car. It's that you get in there, it's a nice experience, you can plug your phone in, they take you where you go, they don't babble all the time to you.
But the only thing, so I believe what you're saying, but I would contend with this. People going into a car driving situation, it's always been an experience. They've always expected it to be an experience. Service is an experience-oriented industry. People have stories about their bad couch or sofa experience on the back end, but they go into a thing and they're just going to buy a couch, right? Like furniture is an object. They don't think about it as an experience up front, right? Maybe they have battle scars,
really?
But no, like you go into buying this. Like you walk into a store and you're like, we should buy one of these things, right? That's the thing I want to buy, right? Believe me, I have a lot of experience in the car sales industry. And on the front end of cars, people forget that is an experience and a journey and a big pain in the ass, right? And so they think, I'm just going to buy a car. And then while they're in the middle of it, and I've even done this, we're like, oh my God, like
this sucks.
Yeah, a year ago, we tried to buy a car on a Saturday. We were just like, we need one to replace this one. Let's just stop by and buy one. And in the back of my mind is like, well, I have the money and we'll just buy a car. And no, it was like 3 days later.
No, we have to torture you.
Like, yeah. I even called them. I was like, do you have the car I want? They do. I'm like, okay, we'll just come and get it. And I was like, we'll skip the monkeying around the negotiation. And it's an experience you're reminded on the back end, right?
Yeah.
Like, so if you think about furniture and particularly the commodification of furniture by some of these other brands that you've designed for it, you've worked in, et cetera, like, they've tried to de-emphasize the experience of it and make it just a product-oriented thing. And so I actually think what you're talking about is, yes, implicit on having experienced it later, but you don't go into it thinking like, I'm going to have a couch buying experience right now. You don't go into it being like, I'm going to have a nightmare of a story to tell you, right? You go into it just being like, hey, I need a couch. Like, oh yeah, the relatives are coming. Let's get a couch.
Totally.
And so, but I'm just... Look, I like your business, and I think to be able to solve so many of these pain points at once is important. But when I go to tell somebody else about your company, what are the first words out of my mouth going to be?
They make custom sofas by the inch in 24 hours. Done deal.
Okay. Well, you didn't mention the Uber app thing that shows you like how it's going to get to you or anything like that, because it's 24 hours, right?
It's part of the experience. It doesn't matter at that point. And it's not. Let's be clear. I'm not going to get you that sofa. I can't get a sofa from LA to New York in 24 hours. I'm going to make that sofa in 24 hours. I still have to ship it, right?
How long does it take to get there then?
5 days.
Okay.
Right, and that's standard. And it's going to go to LA. It's going to deliver the next day. Yeah. It's going to go to San Francisco. It's going to deliver 2 days later. But I can show you the process. I can show you, wow, that was fast all the way through the. Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous on the 24-hour side. You can't even follow.
It is important. This is, I mean, one of the interesting things I think you're pointing out here is sometimes an entrepreneur is so close to it, they think everything matters and they're obsessed with everything, which is a good quality. But I think what you see as an investor, because you get to sort of be outside of it, is you see the one actual thing that matters super clear that actually makes the product scale. So with Uber, it's like, how many minutes till I get my car, right? Like that is the magic, that I can get it in. I call this like the Uno. Like in San Francisco, I didn't have this experience in LA, and I sometimes had it in New York. But in San Francisco, I'm getting Unos a lot. You know what an Uno is?
Yeah, the 1 minute.
Wait. When you I made it up, but I try to make the stick.
Yeah.
But when you click that you want an Uber and it shows 1 minute, not that you like think you got it in 1 minute, that the minute actually said one.
Yeah.
That's getting an Uno.
Uno. Yep.
You'll get an Uno, like I get it like once a week here now.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. But I think here, what do you think is going to be?
But there are other things that drive the Uber business. You're right.
Price.
And so, parking and car replacement and that kind of stuff. So there are. On this page and in your pitch are aspects that appeal to different constituencies, different situations, different problems, et cetera. But the one thing that we all have to have in these businesses, since we can't really afford to market them in these early days when you're scrapping and putting together, is you're empowering the people who've heard about you to tell the other people next to them about you. And so with some of these features, I wonder if they're the one that, I'm curious, having bought a bunch of furniture and still going back to these people that I've bought furniture for after bad experiences before, like maybe I don't actually care which warehouse it's in. I just want to get it, or maybe I just want the most beautiful one and I'm willing to suffer for fashion. I don't know, but ultimately I think this is an awesome company. Where are you guys so far? You've raised a bunch of money.
We've raised $600,000.
You did this on $600,000 of raise?
Yes.
It's crazy.
That's super
Capital
awesome.
efficiency is one of the big things I focus on.
Pretty much at break even right now. We're doing pretty good.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Tell them who your investors are.
Michael Birch, Jason Calacanis, and Ted Reingold.
Oh, right on. Yeah. So all guys I really like, for better or worse. Well, at least 2 out of 3 I really like. But
nobody likes Michael Birch.
That's an incredible amount of progress on 600K.
Everybody loves
it's
Michael
really
Birch.
fun to see that. I think even the revenue at that scale is really great. Yeah.
Awesome.
This will be real. Good
okay.
luck. Yeah.
Well done.
Thank
Good job. All right. So we got to wrap up here. What's the story with Shark Tank? You did that a couple times. You made a couple of investments. You gonna go back?
There's some film in the can there still.
Oh, still some outtakes?
Yeah, there'll be more episodes this season.
More episodes this season?
Yeah.
Okay, what about the future? You think you're going to keep going? If they invite you back, will you continue?
I really enjoyed Shark Tank.
Right.
That was super fun. I mean, you know why it was the most fun? Is because I made it about the other sharks rather than the companies.
Yeah, that's like the Cuban move is to like
and so
tweak
here
the other sharks.
Here we're talking about the companies. I'm not but like for me to sit next to O'Leary and to sit next to Cuban and just have like this unique opportunity to bust their balls is something I felt like I owed to all of you who weren't sitting there.
Yeah.
Like I just owed it to you to make fun of them.
Yeah.
And that worked well.
What are you going to do like 10 years from now? Are you going to even be in this industry? Is this what you want to be doing? Because listen, right now you are one of the things I observe amongst my friends, especially with the investment community, is I have been able to go from, the 50th angel investor to the top 3, largely because all the guys in front of me and gals in front of me call in rich and they stop investing. There's a lot of attrition in angel investing because it's hard to deal with
a lot of work. It's a lot of
all
work.
These meetings, and then it doesn't work, and Benchmade and Requested and LeadIQ, they're all calling you. Oh my God, the next round. You had it with Twitter and Uber and all this stuff.
And by the way, if you're good at it, you take each of them so personally and to heart that you're just cranking the whole time. And so
yes, it can be exhausting.
I've had knockdown, drag out fights with close personal friends over a company where I can't possibly make more than $50,000 on the exit.
Right.
And yet I take it so personally on behalf of the founders that it's emotionally exhausting.
It's emotionally exhausting. And you have Mazio now, as the front line of defense. Are you going to be doing this in 10 years?
Look, I have a notebook. When I was 19 years old, I was living in Ireland and
where? Galway, Dublin, where?
Cork, in the south. Yeah.
Oh, it's my family's from.
And this, I was supposed to be paying attention in school. I wasn't. I was in like a film class, and we usually had beers before it anyway. So, but we would. There was this girl from Maine, I think. She was like another exchange student that we were flirting. And what we'd do is we'd write questions in a notebook and pass them back and forth.
Oh yeah, I've been on that.
And so 2 years ago, my wife and I found it in my garage and opened it up. And one of the questions she had written me was, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" So I'm 19, and what I wrote was essentially, "I don't know what the job is called. I do know it's going to involve a lot of being on the phone, a lot of yelling at people, a lot of negotiation, high risk, high reward." And whatever it is, I'm going to do it half-time from the mountains, half-time from the beach. And in the end, I'm going to wrap it up by the time I'm 40 and do something else.
Right.
So,
we just had your 40th birthday party.
We just had my 40th.
That was quite a party.
Yeah, it was a party. I live up in the mountains. I live at the beach.
Yeah.
And I'd never heard of the word venture capitalist. I didn't know what they do. And so this is, there's a new chapter coming and some more stuff I'm working on.
So you're going to do other things.
TV is one of those things.
Yeah,
I mean,
you enjoy it.
I deeply enjoyed
performing,
Shark Tank specifically.
Shark Tank,
it wasn't even like TV. I wouldn't like bucket it all. Like guys in our position get offered shows all the time and stuff.
Sure.
But
I hear
that show specifically was super fun for me.
Yeah. So a little more entertainment stuff, maybe.
Probably.
A little bit. And then continuing to invest, but at a different pace?
Just at things that I'm just so personally deeply convicted in. InVenture, a company of ours run by Shivani Soroya out of LA.
What do they do?
If you're in the developing world, you download their app. They can immediately tell by your phone how creditworthy you are and instant currently grant you a mobile money loan in Kenya and Tanzania, and the repayment rates on those loans are above 90%, like more than any FICO loan in the world. So they're creating a middle class in sub-Saharan Africa with technology being coded in Santa Monica. But it's like the most gender diverse and culturally diverse company I've ever worked with, racially diverse company I've ever worked with. It's super fun to go to work there. It's going to make a lot of money, and yet we're really proud of the impact it's having. And so that's something I get excited about. I actually serve on their board. So there'll always be things. I can't not look away when I see something awesome that I can help
It's an addiction in that way,
But I don't have any plans now to raise money from people and kind of continue building a lowercase empire.
What do you think of Zuckerberg giving away 99%? We're sitting here in December of 2015 when he just announced a couple of days ago, 2 days ago, I believe, that he's giving away $45 billion. And of course, the wrath of the press for giving it away. He didn't give it away exactly the way the press wants him to give it away.
It's just amazing that people can bust that guy's balls for giving away $45 billion.
If he had given away 46, it would have been fine.
It's fascinating to me because he's not a close personal friend of mine.
No.
I consider him a competitor with a lot of the stuff we do.
Yep.
I have admired how he's grown up as a person. I think he's become increasingly mature and wise, et cetera. But at the same time, the inherent skepticism in Silicon Valley is kind of disgusting me at this point. I mean, I haven't lived here since 2007, so I don't have to put up with as much as you do. You chose to move back here.
Well, listen.
That's punishing.
I never lived here.
Yeah.
And I'm on a 10-year mission, and it's year 5.
Okay.
I got 5 years left on my sentence.
So you're renting. All right. But no, it's amazing to see the skepticism in a guy who... First of all, everything he's done he's already given $1 billion to the Silicon Valley Community Foundation.
How old is he? The kid's like 27.
31 or something like that.
I don't know how old he is, but he's still a kid.
It's fascinating.
I mean, what more do they want?
I don't know. Well, what it's done. I mean, I already had a conversation with my wife. I won't, make an announcement. We've been doing charitable work, and some of it we do.
Yeah, you're pretty quiet about it. I know,
but some of it we do through an LLC because you can't do certain things in a charity. Like you can't start a company. You can't make money. Like
if you wanted to do something like a political action committee to reduce gun violence, you couldn't do that through a charity.
You can't do it. Nope.
So have max flexibility.
Yep. But it is amazing. Like there's an old story about how when I was at Google, we did a toolbar deal. Install the Google, give the toolbar away.
Yeah.
And we would pay the Mozilla Foundation, the Firefox guys, a bounty for each one of those that lit up, that was installed and somebody used, right?
Yeah.
$7 for a toolbar. That made the Mozilla Foundation $500 million in the first year.
It's crazy.
And so that was important for us because competitively we wanted Firefox to survive against Internet Explorer.
Yeah.
It was good for users in the internet because Microsoft didn't run away with the internet and build some crazy closed platform. And yet it blew the Mozilla Foundation's nonprofit status. And it took dozens of lawyers to figure out how to fix that.
It was an influx of capital that made no sense.
Because it was now a for-profit. It was turning a profit.
They had to make a for-profit company that then...
build a whole company around it. Yeah.
That had a sub thing. Yeah.
The regulation on this stuff is tough, right? And if you want to set somebody up to have the maximum good, to have the maximum impact, doing so within a traditional charitable foundation where they can't do public advocacy work, they have to give away 5% a year specifically, they can't found companies, they can't make profit. It's bullshit. I'd much rather have Zuck with his LLC.
You and I have both been lucky to have beautiful girls, daughters, and kind of makes you look at the world slightly differently. What do you hope most for your girls and for the rest of the planet, when they become adults, 20, 30, 40 years from now, when they inherit all this world? What do you hope changes? What do you hope gets better?
Well, one of the things, I hope that people will start treating my girls like kids, like just irrespective of their gender. It's unbelievable how much pink shit shows up at our house.
Unbelievable, right?
How much princess bullshit. And, the data are clear. Like people who grow up in a princess ideology have worse body image issues, eating disorders, higher likelihood of early sex, unsafe sex, underperformance in school, underperformance in math and science. And so I would like to just see right now, before they're even grown up in the world they inherit, is just giving them a chance to just be kids.
Right.
Look at early episodes of Sesame Street from back when we were kids, and like everyone's dressed in primary colors. Look now, and not only are the kids dressed in pink and purple for their girls, but Sesame Street literally market tested a princessy character named Abacadabra.
Yeah.
And they gave her eyes that the original eyes were too far apart. They looked like all the other monsters, so they actually pushed them closer together, tilted them to make her look helpless, and then gave her a sharp nose compared to every other monster there. Like you can read about this. They market tested it and were like, well, how are we going to compete with Disney, where the Princess Industrial Complex is a real thing. So so I hope my girls get a chance to be kids. I hope they get a chance to be financially and business literate to the point where even if they don't choose to go into business at all, they have a degree of independence and capability that I think they can bring to bear. Even if they're artists, I'd like them to be business and literate and know how to manage their own careers, an aspect. And then the other thing to your legacy point of like what they inherit, the climate is fucked. We as a planet do not have the global will to fix it. Nothing can happen at these climate talks that could begin to address the scale of this. And so one of the things I've been spending my time on, we haven't really talked about a lot, is geoengineering research. So I think the planet's going to have to be hacked.
For sure.
And I think it's going to be hacked by a few people, not a lot of people, without a lot of permission to do so. And so
that's a brave new world.
And I think it's an area, it's really risky, but I think it's an area that deserves a lot of research and attention. So that's something we've been paying more and more attention to.
And you think this will occur through algae fields in the water?
There's a lot of cool stuff you can do.
Mirrors on the desert?
There's particulates you can inject. There's stuff you can do in the stratosphere.
Particulates you could inject into the stratosphere too.
Look, if you go to Larry Page right now and say what's the biggest issue in the world, which I asked him about 6 months ago, he told me brain scans. I said, it's not climate at all. And he said, no, it's brain scans, the fact that we can replicate anybody's brain and 3D print it out.
It's a bit narcissistic.
I said, but what about climate? And he's like, oh, come on, man. Solar and fission-powered carbon scrubbers in the deserts will take care of that within a few years.
I see. So it's not that he's a narcissist and believes he wants his brain to live forever.
He just knows the planet's going to get hacked by...
He knows it will happen.
And
you believe that too?
Well-heeled, benevolent individuals that are just going to be like, look, we're not going to get there on carbon reduction. We're just going to have to scrub it. So...
scrub the carbon somehow.
We're going to have to scrub and sequester all the carbon or reflect the solar radiation back out.
It's those two things. We just put mirrors everywhere in the desert.
You either have less light coming in and being heat, or you take the stuff that traps the heat and you trap it. So one of those two things is going to have to happen.
Let me end on this. Are you generally optimistic right now? I mean, one of the things that we have this great privilege of, being the guys who write the checks early, is all the crazy founders come to us and tell us, hey, this is what I think the future should be. And you know what? Some of them turn into Elon Musk or Zuckerberg or whatever, and they actually do change their things. Evan Williams, Jack. Seeing what you see, are you optimistic? Do you go to bed at night and feel like the species, the planet, humanity is going in the right direction? Or do you sometimes just say, fuck, this is just fucked?
Yeah, I mean, all of that. But I'm incredibly optimistic that the founder entrepreneurial world is going in the right direction. That the people who have the talent are more empowered than ever to realize those talents, to make big changes possible. There are just so many. Look at the talents in this room and any of these rooms you work in, and then hear the personal stories and realize that these are people who wouldn't have been able to get out of their social situation or the economic handcuffs they had on them, but for greater access to whether it's education or the internet or just think of even Evan Williams driving to Silicon Valley in a van, literally, like just even knowing that this is a place he could go to. Nebraska. He stopped in Florida for a little bit and then came out here. But just the ability that the idea that there is some mobility here, and that the tools available to them now, like you move Web 1.0, you need a couple $1 million to start. When you hear that somebody's running a couch factory for
$600K,
a custom couch factory with 24-hour delivery or 24-hour,
sure,
tracking, all that. Yeah, for $600K is totally fascinating, right? Yeah. Would have been absolutely impossible before. So I'm very optimistic that the right entrepreneurs now have access to the resources to make the coolest stuff. There's fewer obstacles to them than there have been before. I'm very frustrated and pessimistic by the political process. Like, I just think the way our democracy is
sold.
Yeah. I mean, we euphemize it with campaign finance reform, that term and stuff. But it's it's absolutely bought and sold. And I get so exhausted by debates about how to fix the political process and stuff like that. It's just broken. And I think
Just for the record, you're having that debate on Twitter in 140 characters. Might be having a slight impact in your...
I think the political realm has been dopamine hacking. Basically, like, I think it's an entire industry that has been hacking the personal dopamine response of the mass citizenry. And so, and I think a lot of the press and Roger Ailes and stuff have played right into that and so we have, not that we were ever like a populace characterized by reason, patient debate, but I think it's just been optimized more than ever.
Bread and circuses. I mean, they're just doing this for entertainment.
Yeah, but I mean, look what it's manifesting. It's manifesting in real life. Yeah, it's just bad. Yeah, not just in Trump, everywhere. Like, if you get outside of this little tiny bubble, like, and you talk to anyone in real life, it's scarier than it's ever been.
Yeah.
I know, like, Andreessen can publish data about how, like, there's fewer murders and that kind of stuff, but there's never been a time during a year during our lifetimes where things have been more tense, where tribal divisions have been more obvious, and we haven't experienced this.
It seems very divisive, and the media is certainly stroking the flames. Hey, out of those 3 companies you saw, rank them.
No, I gotta go to lunch.
All right, tell me which one is the most appealing and why. Let's leave it at that. How about that? I'd let you go to lunch.
I mean, what's most appealing to me is Edgar's company.
Okay.
What was it called?
Benchmade model.
The sofa company.
The sofa
Benchmade,
company.
yeah.
The place that makes the couches in East LA.
No, just because I think one of the things he communicated so clearly was their distinct competitive advantage. That
very good.
When he goes in, so even, let's say I do a little bit of research on the space and there's a couple other furniture companies, competing and thinking about opening up kiosks. One of the things I would do if we were going in and doing diligence, so I look at the space and I sit down and I'm like, all right, tell me about these other guys and what are they doing that's different than you, and why are you unfairly suited to do this? And I got the sense from Edgar that that's what I would get a very confident response back from him. I have these talents. This is what's different about our manufacturing process. This is how long it takes to figure this shit out. Nobody else can do it, and here's why I'm going to win. And that's what I want to hear. The very best entrepreneurs just have unreasonable expectations of themselves. They know their success is inevitable, and they're not there to kind of sell you and convince you. They just know it's going to work.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that gets caught up in language, but other times it's just not there. And if I can't feel that or see that or hear it,
it's like an inevitability.
Yeah. I mean, look, Kevin Systrom, when you talk to him in the early days when he's one person sitting in Pier 28, and you're like, he'll be like, so when we get to 50 million users, then we'll turn on this other feature. And you're just like, dude, I don't know if you noticed, you're the only one coding right now, but it's just an inevitability in that.
Yeah.
Travis, people always ask, Travis, did you guys know back then Travis is going to upend the entire world transportation system? And you're like, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
There was no doubt about that
in
his voice. And so that's something I'm looking for. When I see a company where they say we have a distinct technological advantage, a distinct product manufacturing advantage, distinct design advantage, whatever, that's something you can start to build an investment thesis around.
All right, folks, there you have it, Chris Sacca. You can follow him on Twitter at Sacca, lowercase capital. If you want their money, you probably got to get through Mazio or one of the other portfolio companies. It's very hard to get to him.
At Mazzeo.
He remains a recluse in the mountains somewhere, at the beach somewhere, but a good friend of mine and a great human being. Always great to have you on the program, Chris Sacca.
Thanks
for coming.
All right.
Fist bump. I know you got a shoulder injury here or something. You're nursing.
Just had surgery. I'm a mess.
Well, thanks for coming.
All right.
And the painkillers didn't really impact it all that much. All right, we'll see you next time.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.